All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour one of Jon and Jim. We have a really good show lined up. Mike Faran at MLB Network Radio, a winter meetings primer, his thoughts on Roki Sasaki and Juan Soto at 2:30 in less than 30 minutes. It was, now listen, Brent, we pre-recorded a conversation today with BJ Rains from Bronco Nation News because Boise State's playing UNLV in the Mountain West title game, plus there's Ashton Genty, plus there's Pac-12 basketball.
Did you just say we?
Jim is so mad.
So
he's so mad.
Listen, all right. So I'm e-breaking the show from the jump.
It's 2 p.m. It's fine.
I see in the rundown.
You got time.
Now, maybe it's a little bit my fault because when I see in the rundown BJ Rains pre-recorded, I'm like,
oh yeah, I remember doing that.
I'm like, what? Didn't really make sense to me. But I was like, okay, maybe Jon did something wrong or spelled something wrong over there or whatever. But doing the rest of the rundown, do it. Okay. Then right before the show, you said, oh, yeah, I recorded with BJ before the show. Sorry. I'm like, what?
And you were like so offended. I thought I was like saving us like 10 minutes.
I say, did you have a lot of Boise questions or something?
No, but
in theory, we could put your questions in. We could splice them into the interview, but now
it doesn't matter because we're just talking about it. So
here's how it went down.
Just hey, I'm not going to text Jim about the interview.
No, I didn't. Let's take our listeners behind the scenes. In the morning,
Jon,
we reach out to guests. Mike Faran, Kevin Acee, BJ Rains, Darnay Tripp, whomever, right? San Diego State football and basketball. And we reach out and say, hey, can you come on and, for 5-10 minutes during the course of the show? Here's some available times.
A lot of times guests don't even know that they're on with another person, Jim.
Right. Oftentimes.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I don't know what's going on. Oftentimes people are like, oh, thanks, Jon, for the interview. John Fancy yesterday, right? Comes on the show. So oftentimes I send out the text and people say, yeah, I can do it or I can't do it. Sometimes people say, would you be able to record it because I'm working in the afternoon or I'm traveling? So BJ Rains got back to me and said, I can't do it live because of the Mountain West media days going on because the football game's tomorrow and the commissioner's speaking and the coaches are speaking during our show in Boise. He said, I can do it now. This is at noon after I went to Orange Theory. Shout out Orange Theory.
Okay.
Call sales.
Yeah.
Padres wrap-up show at gmail.com if anyone wants to sponsor the show.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. But so I reached out. I was like, I can do it now. So he literally said, I can do it now. I start setting up my equipment. I'm not going to then loop you in. Hey, can you do it now? I had to do it. I had 5 minutes to do the interview. Right? I can do it now. I mean, in theory, I could have been like, hey, dude, are you by your microphone and your computer? And can you do a Zoom? And can you pre-record right now? But I also know your schedule now because of what you're doing over here. And you're in around lunchtime.
I am in at noon, yes.
Yeah, so I'm using my high quality, amazing microphone at home, and you would have been like Jim from where. The point is, I figured I was saving us time doing the interview, and you don't really care.
So
I'm kind of right?
Now that you're putting it that way,
I always ask you.
Bro, you can loop me in.
I always do, but because of the timing, it was noon, and I had to do it now. I said, can you do it now?
Hey, bro, I got to do this with BJ. I know you can't do it. I got the mic. This is the only time you can do it.
I mean, listen, we have the type of relationship. I think we've worked together long enough that whatever we do just kind of rolls off our shoulder. We're cool with it, right? It's very hard for you to offend me and for me to offend you, by and large.
I asked you at 1:30, where are you? He goes, for what?
Yeah. I'll be there by 2, dude. And if not, just do the damn show.
Just do the damn 4-hour show.
We've been doing this long enough where, and we're basically 5 years in of doing something every day.
Because this goes to 2020.
Wrap-up shows on the radio, wrap-up shows on YouTube, Jon and Jim on the radio. I mean, we've been filling in on shows here for 7 years, probably, or whenever you came back here. 6 years.
2019 is when I came back.
Yeah, so 6 years. We've been doing stuff since 2019.
Yeah.
So I figured we had the type of. It's here's the thing: you've been married to Aaron for only a few months. Once you're 10 years in, you take some liberties. I don't mean you take liberties and bring other women over.
Hey,
I mean
I got this girl coming over later tonight.
You can pick up dinner maybe without asking. 8 years in, because you kind of know she wants sushi.
Well, there should be a trend of you just always. It's like ingrained in your
relationship. It's
ingrained in your I don't know, daily routine of like, hey, if I'm going to go to the store after work,
Right.
Down his pants.
pause. I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to the store. Do you need anything?
But we're not married.
Kind
I
of
mean,
are.
we kind of are to the show. I mean, is it really going to make your career if you're on this BJ Rains Bronco Nation news interview?
And truthfully,
what if this won like all these awards? Like iHeartRadio is sending Jon
That would be
Jim for
awesome.
New York City. He's
That
won a
BJ Rains interview.
$50,000 award.
Oh god, if that happened, you just make like T-shirts up
dude.
with awards, so you can walk in, and then Jim has to look at it like all the time.
you get like $100,000 bonus. I'd be like, are you kidding me
I
right
don't
now?
know if iHeart's handing out $100,000 bonuses for radio interviews, to be honest with you. My guess is they're not. Anyway, BJ Rains will join us,
John,
later today, but I'm looking forward also to Mike Faran, MLB Network Radio.
Yes.
I mean, this is a serious question what I'm about to ask Jim. And I want to hear from this is a serious question what I'm about to say.
I'm ready.
877-767-4760 or 70470. Start it with team. And I actually want to hear from people on the Talkback Mike. Like actually.
And Talkback Matt.
And the Mac. Open up the free iHeartRadio app, search for San Diego Sports 760, hit the microphone, leave a 30-second talkback. We will play talkbacks. If you open the app, click the microphone, search for San Diego Sports 760. Will the A's outspend the Padres in free agent spending this offseason? Dead serious question. Luis Severino, $67 million, 3 years. Now, as an aside, I think it's the dumbest thing ever. You're nowhere near competing, but it shows like you are. So, okay, I'll give him quasi credit. I think it's dumb.
No credit from me.
Yeah, exactly. But it is $67 million actual dollars, and the Padres have spent $900K on Tyler Wade. So will the A's, $67 million ahead of the Padres, outspend the Padres in free agency this offseason?
Yes.
Probably, right?
Yeah, I think so. The A's are a joke of a franchise.
They are. This is fake.
It's just real quick on the A's before we move on. So they signed Luis Severino today, 3 years, $67 million, the largest contract that they have handed out for guaranteed money in the franchise's history.
22 per year.
Insane.
Insanity.
They do it the second they get out of Oakland.
Yeah.
And that is such a slap in the face to their fans. I can't even express how horrible of a look that is, in my opinion.
I agree with you.
John Fisher remains the biggest piece of trash owner in all of sports.
It is a bad look.
Awful.
Mm-hmm.
Joke of a franchise, joke of an owner. They do that now. You couldn't do that last year or 2 years ago or 5 years ago.
Right.
You do that now when you're going to go play in a AAA baseball stadium for next year. And who even knows if you're going to be playing in a real stadium in Las Vegas anytime soon?
What year is it going to be? You're right.
What a joke. I hate that guy. Awful.
No, I agree.
But now back to your original
they're like
question.
pretending like, hey, we're putting a foot forward in this new iteration of the A's. I agree.
Give me a break.
I agree.
And then to top it off, hours after that, they put out a press release and to all their season ticket holders that season tickets are now on sale.
Honestly, it's not horrific marketing, but it is. What you're saying is right. It's I see right through it.
Oh,
and so does everyone. But maybe if you're in Sacramento, listen, the truth is, and I know this is an aside, they'll sell tickets in Sacramento. It's
5,000 seats.
And they'll play teams like San Francisco and San Diego and Los Angeles and Anaheim, and they'll sell tickets.
And you're going to have an amazing seat.
Yeah, because it's a minor league stadium.
Yeah.
And it actually will work, whatever that means. If you're not creating revenue, it's 15,000 seats.
It will be like
money.
I just remember when the Chargers went to Carson, and they were in that small stadium.
And it was all red and black.
Well, yeah. But then at the end of the year, you looked at like attendance for all the teams.
20,000.
And the Chargers are like 20,000.
Yeah, teams are like 80 grand.
It's that's what
same thing.
Yeah. Anyway, the A's suck. Not the A's, but John Fisher sucks. He's awful. He's horrible.
Yeah, it's not the A's.
No
players.
No.
Not
the players and coaches. Absolutely not. Yes, I think the Padres will get outspent by the A's this offseason.
It may not be that close.
Not with that deal out there already.
So they're 60-something. And what are the Padres actually? I mean, even if they landed Sasaki, which would be incredible, and we'll get to it. We have the latest from Jeff Passan. Even Sasaki's not going to increase their free agent spending. Even if we count it, it's like $7 million. Mm-hmm. So Severino's running circles around that Sasaki deal. I don't know. I mean, Profar could be a free agent signing. Absolutely. Catcher, shortstop. But I mean, I'd be surprised if it was over 70, 80 total spend this offseason. Right?
Yeah, I'd be too. Unless they
Merrill
decide to give Merrill a contract extension or Michael King a contract
But again,
extension.
is that even free agency? But I guess we would count that as spending. If Merrill's a $110 million deal, I count that.
And if you wanted to give Michael King a contract extension, it wouldn't go on the books this year per se, because you could start it after next year. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's like his arbitration number,
but
or
it impacts it's AAV right away.
That's
it
true.
impacts them right away.
That's true.
Right away.
The CBT number,
and that's an argument to put it off for a year.
Well, if put it off for a year, he's gone.
Costs more money.
Yeah, he's gone too.
Wait, King or Cease? We're talking about
King, not Cease.
Cease is a whole nother conversation.
We
have time.
Yeah, the Boris clients this offseason are getting paid as far as pitchers go.
Absolutely.
Cease is going to get paid.
Absolutely.
Finished 4th in Cy Young. Give me a break. He's going to get a lot of money.
I agree.
Michael King going to get a lot of money. But yeah, that's that caught me by surprise this morning when I'm like,
I looked at it like 10 times. Was it the real passing?
Yeah,
but it was
67.
Are we alive back there?
It's one of my favorite quotes.
I honestly think it's $67 million, which is a great shocking. Drop. What's Luis Severino? I mean, I kind of get it. You're a member of a union. If you can get $67 million, money's money. This goes back to the Juan Soto conversation. Are you in it for the team or are you in it for the money? And I think Juan Soto's proven he's in it probably for the money. And I don't blame Luis Severino. It is $67 million guaranteed.
That's amazing.
$22.33 million per year.
And it's not some like wonky contract like the Trevor Rosenthal a couple years ago. Like, we're going to give you a 2-year deal for 11, but we'll pay you $1 million a year for the next 11 years.
No, it's right. He had a good year, and it's probably a fair contract, but it doesn't make any sense.
What does that equal out to? 22 a year?
22.3.
Michael King's going to get more than that per year. Should. He's a better pitcher than Severino.
That's interesting, too. Yeah. Like, Severino's a guy that had a qualifying offer.
Yeah.
And then he looks really good on the other side of it. 1 year, 21 million, or 3 years, 67. I don't even know where we're going. The point is this: the Padres spending is under a microscope. Like this isn't fake. Oh, they're not in on this person. They're not in on this person. They don't have any margin up against this CBT other than a narrow path, the Profars, a catcher, a trade. Absolutely. Unless it's something unforeseen. Like we haven't heard from Contendo or Preller or Group. Like if something changes, okay. But as far as we know, we would all be shocked if they went out and just opened up the checking account.
And I'm very worried. I'm very worried that the Padres being perceived as close after this past year. Like, man, what Preller did, and we've praised him all season long.
I agree.
For what he built with last year's team and the trades that he made. Like, easily, by far, his best year as general manager in the sport since he became a GM back in 2014. But with that, with them being like perceived on the cusp, it feels like if you don't capitalize on that, then you're just doing a disservice to your fans and the team. You really are. The players in that clubhouse are probably sitting there thinking, man, we were so close. All we needed to do was just not go 24 straight scoreless innings and kind of an anomaly against the Dodgers. And we are thinking we're winning a World Series because we thought that we were better than every remaining team. We thought that we were equals to the Dodgers. And a lot of people say and think the same thing, that whoever won that series, Dodgers-Padres series, was going to go on to win the World Series because those were the two best teams in the playoffs.
Yes.
In all of baseball.
Yes.
And if you don't try to capitalize on that, if Preller, and I don't put Preller really in this mix. It's not really Preller. Yeah. I can't even blame him.
No, it's not Preller.
If this organization and Eric Contendo and whoever the hell the owner is and whatever, if they don't give the proper amount of resources to Preller to go capitalize on this past year, you're doing a disservice to your fan base and a disservice to the players in the clubhouse.
I agree with you. We have the latest on Roki Sasaki from Jeff Passan, and then an interesting twist from Buster Olney. We're Team Passan, though. So the latest from Jeff Passan on Roki Sasaki. Then Mike Faran, a winter meetings primer coming up in about 14 minutes. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, Mike Faran, MLB Network Radio, will join us in 10 minutes. Let's get to the crux of the matter. Right, where are the letters? Jim, why are you taking the letters?
I didn't do anything.
Aztecs basketball back in VA on Saturday. They're taking on USD. Pre-game coverage at 6 p.m. Ted has the tip at 7 on your home for the Aztecs. San Diego Sports 760. Speaking of which, we'll give away 2 pairs of tickets today for Saturday's game. We'll hear from Brian Dutcher later this hour on last night's rout in Fresno and the breakout game for the Good Broth. We'll get into that later this hour, but let's get to it. Jeff Passan this morning wrote at ESPN.com this exact sentence about Sasaki. The industry should not forget about the San Diego Padres, Texas Rangers, and Chicago Cubs, nor forget that when Ohtani's free agent process was playing out, the Angels were never mentioned among the favorites. So that was Jeff Passan earlier today.
And
but
then
what was the latest from Buster Olney after Passan's article?
Buster Olney is reporting that industry belief is that Roki Sasaki has already chosen where he wants to sign, with the most likely choice being the Doyers.
That's 2 separate statements if you think about it.
What?
Him already.
I'm so over this already.
Well, that goes down 2 different paths, Passan and Olney. But hear me out. Even Olney is saying 2 different things. He may have chosen where he wants to go, but it may not be the Dodgers, because if you read that again, it says most likely.
Yeah.
But we've all said the same thing. What's funny is that flies in the face of what the agent is saying, which is
no handshake agreement.
There is no handshake agreement.
I don't know really what to believe. All I'm thinking right now is that the Padres and Dodgers it's a 2-horse race, and there could be potentially a mystery team. When I see Jeff Passan throw out teams like the Texas Rangers, I'm like, ooh, that kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Or Chicago.
That makes sense too. Now, Chicago has Shoto Imanaga in their rotation,
absolutely.
so that could be, a player that could help sway.
And say Suzuki in their outfield.
So you got a couple Japanese players there. I saw a video today from Japan that was highlighting Roki Sasaki and Yoshinobu Yamamoto's friendship. Those things kind of scare me.
Was the video in Japanese?
It was. Do you see that?
Did you watch it?
I watched a little bit of it.
Well, what did it say if it was in Japanese?
The person that posted the video said that this video is about Roki Sasaki and Yoshinobu Yamamoto's friendship, and they're like on a field laughing, hanging out, throwing the baseball back to each other in a dugout.
I don't know, man.
What?
What do you mean?
Like, I just don't know where we go with it, because he's also got a relationship with Darvish.
No, I know that. I'm just saying, like, there's so many things out there right now.
Hear me out. If I'm a Japanese-born player that played on the WBC team, I have a lot of relationships with, I'm assuming, Imanaga, Suzuki, whoever have been in this recent team.
Was on the Japanese World Baseball Classic team, if I remember correctly.
That's who was on the Japanese one?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot of relationships. Just like when Bryce Harper hits free agency, he has relationships with former Nationals and former
Soto's
Phillies.
Really good friends with Trey Turner.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my point. Is in every professional athlete, football, basketball included. Basketball is the best example. Super team era was basically about relationships.
Yeah. Draymond's hanging out with LeBron all the time. And then, yeah.
But I mean, oftentimes these friendships actually do get consummated on court in the NBA.
Right.
So that's not overly surprising to me. But just because he has a relationship with Yamamoto, and it probably is a good one, I'm sure, but that doesn't mean it's his only good relationship, nor does it mean that's the only factor in choosing a team.
Right.
So my point is, it's like sometimes you go down the wrong path with something. It might be the right path at the end of the day, but also we don't know what the path is. Like, is it about friendships? Is it about money? Is it about location?
What annoys me the most about this is, we talked about it yesterday, it's December 5th.
Yeah, there's 40 days.
There's a lot of time left before we will know a decision. We're likely going to know a decision on Juan Soto in the next week, maybe less.
I think it was who reported by the end of the weekend.
Passan.
Then it'll be by the end of the weekend.
Yeah, and he is sitting there at his house, mansion,
crossing off teams,
just sitting there being like, "Do I want to go?"
I just saw him cross off Kansas City.
Cross off that team. Oakland A's are giving out money, but still, I'm not going to go there.
No thanks. $67 million to go to Oakland?
$67 million? I want to make that per year.
Right.
The Sasaki thing, it's just going to be twists and turns for the next 40 days, but I will stand by my general thought that
Mhm.
it's a 2-horse race between the Padres and the Dodgers. And while the Dodgers might be considered the favorite, I still think the Padres, like Jeff Passan and, John Heyman, not Jeff Passan, but John Heyman and the reporter yesterday from Baseball Writers of America reported that the Padres have a real shot at this.
Francis Romero.
That they have a real shot and that their pitch is a good one to Sasaki. So I'll stand by that the Padres will have a chance until it's reported by Jeff Passan that he has gone elsewhere.
When I'm going to trust the Passan reporting over Olney.
Yes.
Because Passan is the supreme insider for Major League Baseball.
I don't think there's a decision. Absolutely not. No chance.
I don't either. And when Passan writes, the industry shouldn't forget about the Padres, Rangers, and Cubs, I take him at his word. And the fact that he's throwing in a mystery team like the Angels ended up with Ohtani. Mm-hmm. I think the point is it is wide open today, and we'll see if that changes in the days ahead. We'll catch up with Mike Faran on it. What is he hearing or thinking related to Roki Sasaki and Juan Soto? Nobody's better. MLB Network Radio's Mike Faran joins Jon and Jim next.
This update is brought to you by Progressive. San Diego State beat Fresno State last night behind a career night from Magoon Guath. He went for 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks in the win. Aztecs next game will be Saturday night at Viejas Arena against USD, 7 p.m. tip time. You can listen to that right here on San Diego Sports 760. And news from college football. It's been reported that North Carolina, John, has interviewed Bill Bellichick as their next head coach. This update's been brought to you by Progressive.
All right, we from the baseball winter meetings here in the 25 offseason. It is great to connect with Mike Faran, MLB Network radio friend of the show. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. So, Mike, we always appreciate you taking time for us. We're seeing all these quote-unquote reports on society. Passon today wrote an article, industry shouldn't forget about the Padres, Rangers, Cubs, and then Buster Olney put something out today along the lines of he's already made up his mind and the most likely destination remains the Dodgers. Do you have any gut feeling on Roki Sasaki, or how do you think this plays out in the weeks ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it wasn't Buster's opinion. That was Buster had that opinion from people around baseball. But I think that's, there were people that said that about Ohtani last winter. There are people that say that all the time about the Dodgers now. That the people have been saying this about Sasaki for a year, and I don't necessarily buy it. I think there's, in the end, it's going to come down to who makes the pitch, and maybe he wants to be a Dodger. Or maybe he would rather be with a guy who is his, essentially his baseball godfather, Yu Darvish. Or maybe he'd, the teams that are going to be able to offer the most money to him, if that's something that matters, will be like the Milwaukee Brewers or Minnesota Twins. So I think it is really foolish to try and parse too much into this right now. He's not even been posted. The signing window won't even begin for him until January 15th because of the way the amateur calendar works. He's not posting in this current window, which ends on December 15th. And so he's more than a month out from being available and probably isn't going to talk to teams very much, I would think, before the holidays. So before the Christmas holiday, at least. So I think it's all rampant speculation by someone who saw ferrets pass out of 31 flavors.
Well, as you know, Mike, during the baseball offseason, rumors are what drive the content for guys like us. So
I mean, yeah, but I get it. They drive the content for me too, but we have to be able to filter out legitimate rumors from crap.
Absolutely.
And it's not always easy to do, especially when I have no doubt that Buster's sources told him that. That's a prevalent feeling around baseball, but it doesn't mean that we have to repeat it if we're not sure about it.
Right, exactly. Mike, let's just go to down the road here and say, all right, the Dodgers also get Sasaki. There's a world where they also get Juan Soto. They just signed Blake Snell. What would be your thought on if all of those things actually happened?
Lucky Dodgers. I mean, somebody needs to step up and pay Juan Soto so he doesn't go there. Somebody needs to sell a better pitch to Sasaki. I mean, the Dodgers are doing everything right now, right? Not only are they winning, but they're adding premium talent and they're helping that premium talent get better. And I think that's the part that is really, outside of their financial wherewithal, which is clearly a huge part of this. But the rest of it is that they're doing a better job of helping players develop than other organizations are. So I think that if somehow the Dodgers run the table and end up with Soto and Sasaki, and I am highly skeptical that they will end up with Soto first and foremost, I'm less skeptical that they would end up with Sasaki, I think it should be a wake-up call for other organizations to figure out how to do it better. I don't think it's any coincidence that the Dodgers win the World Series and are adding all these players, and all of a sudden the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Blue Jays and these large market teams are starting to spend more. I think teams like the Cubs are asleep at the wheel comparatively for this premium talent. And it's not a surprise, but life isn't fair. Business isn't fair. The Dodgers are playing by the rules, by every single rule. They have a destination that's a good one that's going to give players a chance to win. So it's time for you to put on the big boy pants and strap it down and get going. And let's figure out a way to make your organization better. Because the other thing too is that like we know that this doesn't necessarily matter in the playoffs, right? Because especially in a short series, anything can happen, and there's a chance for other teams to beat the Dodgers there. But they're going to be one of the favorites going into the playoffs again next year, and they're going to have a chance to be the first National League team to win back-to-back World Series since the Reds nearly 50 years ago.
That doesn't necessarily go over well in San Diego. Mike Faran, in terms of them winning back-to-back World Series. So, but like you said, I think
there's probably,
29
about other markets that doesn't go particularly well.
And it's funny.
So, yeah.
And to your point, I mean, the postseason is so finicky. We don't have to go back more than a few weeks to recall the Padres leading the Dodgers in a best-of-5 series, 2-1, and being at home, coming off some really impressive games in games 2 and 3, where it felt like they were right there until they weren't, and they didn't score for 24 consecutive innings. So it is hard to predict, obviously, baseball's postseason. All right, so you said that you find it unlikely. I think a lot of people agree, Mike, that Juan Soto ultimately ends up in Los Angeles. Who do you see right now as the front runners? Do you think that this does come to an end sooner rather than later? And who are these front runners right now?
Yeah, I don't know that I can pick a front runner because I think in the end it's going to depend on what Soto wants. I mean, as of right now, it sounds like the Jays and the Red Sox are being super aggressive. The richest owner in sports wants Juan Soto, which is the Mets owner. And when was the last time the Yankees lost a player that they really wanted? Remember, we had arson judge, not Aaron, going to San Francisco with John Heyman's tweet a couple of years ago, and the Padres had offered more money, or at least offered the concept of more money, and the Yankees were like, we'll match the Giants, and Judge went back, right? So, like, I don't know that I can handicap it. I do think that the Dodgers have other avenues, right? Like, the most likely scenario with the Dodgers is that they were hoping that the market would fall out for Soto and that they would be able to, sign him. Now, he's a unique player, right? Because he'll play at 26 next year, and he's going to be a star for the majority of that contract. If it's, let's say I'm expecting him to be right around or exceed the length of Tatis's deal. So 14 or 15 years. For 10 of it, you're getting a star, most likely. And so and a superstar for the vast majority of that. So maybe the Dodgers are still in the mix there, but they have a lot of other avenues that are in play. And I'm not sure that they have the same desperation that those teams in the East do. I would not be surprised if the Jays come in as the highest bidder. Now, then the question is, does he want to go to Toronto? Which I think is, like, for those of us who've been to Toronto, like, sign me up. I'll spend 15 years in Toronto making, $45 million a year. But the reality is that for baseball players, it can be tougher because every time you have to travel, which is, for 90 days, every time you leave the country or come back to the country, you have to go through customs. And that's kind of a pain in the butt when the rest of your travel is relatively easy compared to what the rest of us have to do. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but those teams are going to be right there at the end. And my guess is that number is going to be probably close to 15 years and $700 million before it's all said and done where he signs.
Mike, I don't know where you were this morning, but if you were sitting down when you saw that the A's spent $67 million on Luis Severino, did you fall out of a chair if you were sitting on it?
I was on the air.
Oh, my
goodness. We were in the middle of our show, and that came across, and I was like, wait, I got a text from somebody. I didn't even see it because we were in the middle of an interview. I got a text from a buddy of mine who was like, really? And I went, wait a second. I had to triple check. Like, listen, I knew that the A's were interested in spending, right? Because they've said that. David Forst, who's their president of baseball operations, is a guy who is, like, as honest as the day is long. As much as the A's get crap for ownership and all sorts of other stuff, like, Dave Forst is, like, he's a real one, right? And he said, listen, we want to spend money. And Mark Kotze had said at a thing at USC, 2 weeks ago, he's like, yeah, we had interest in Walker Buehler, but he wasn't that interested. So they were checking boxes. I mean, they had to probably overpay a little bit for Severino. I don't know that number is, it's not all that different than what Yusei Kikuchi signed for. And I think those are fairly similar pitchers, at least in terms of, which silo you would put them in. But I think, I'm impressed that they spent. I'm disappointed for A's fans in Oakland because I wonder why they weren't willing to do this then. And that goes back to the owner, right? So, that's a good young team. They have a lot of position player talent. They need pitching and they probably still need more. but it at least gives them a chance to be more competitive in what's pretty wide open, that is the American League West for next season.
So, Mike, we see the spending that's going on so far this offseason. The Padres really have not been included. I think they've got a $900,000 deal with Tyler Wade.
It's still early. It's only
very
December
early.
5th.
It's very early, and we know A.J. Preller's as creative as they come, so it doesn't have to solely be via free agency. But you look at where the Padres are, it doesn't sound like they have a strong desire to go over a CBT. That to me seems unlikely from our seat. So how do you put this thing back together, like the Profars and shortstop and Kyle Higashioka to the Texas Rangers and Joe Musgrove's out? Like, what are you thinking if you're AJ Preller and you are up against a dollar figure?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where you need to try and create some flexibility, right? And that's not necessarily easy to do, right? So, to me, the guy that is potentially the most movable is probably Cronenworth. If that were the case, and I don't know that that's the route the Padres are going to go. But I think, Bogart's contract is too long and too expensive. Machado is too long, too expensive with a no trade clause. Tatis, you'd be foolish to move, right? You start getting into pitching, and if you wanted to move pitching, well, you're going to weaken what's already a spot that needs to be upgraded. I guess the other one is Suarez. Robert Suarez had a great season last year and is a really good closer. He signed for 3 more years, and that bullpen's pretty good. Like that Jason Adam acquisition last year was a really good one. That guy is excellent, and he's under control for a couple more seasons. So, those are the kind of places where you could free it up. The shortstop question is a really interesting one because on paper, they're a great fit for Willy Adames, but we haven't been linking them to him because of exactly what you said, right? Like we think there's a dollar figure they're up against. Obviously, they know Ha-Seong Kim, but they also know the medicals on Ha-Seong Kim better than anybody because he's coming off shoulder surgery, and that is really risky for a shortstop if you don't know if he can throw it across the diamond. So, and I guess they could play Bogarts there, but certainly playing Bogarts at short, Cronenworth at second, Arise at first, maybe that is an alignment, or maybe they could go after a first baseman. Maybe they can get Paul Goldschmidt on the cheap or something like that, or where they decide that they have enough money to commit 3 years for somebody like Christian Walker. Walker would be a good fit for them because he's such a good defender on top of being a good hitter. But I think those are kind of some of the avenues. And the catcher situation, there aren't that many catchers that are available. Like the best one on the free agent market now is probably Danny Jansen, and the next best is Carson Kelly. Those guys aren't super expensive. If they wanted to go back down the Profar road, I support it because it seems to be the one place that Profar is comfortable enough to really put up good years. But there are other avenues that are available to them too. And let's not forget that they were super aggressive with Jackson Merrill. And I don't know that Leo DeVries is all that close to being ready, or that Ethan Salas is. I mean, Salas really hasn't produced in the upper levels of the minors yet. He's still super young, but there's always the chance that they find a candidate that's internal for one of those spots. I don't think that they're going to, I don't want to say that they lucked into Jackson Merrill being as good as he was. I mean, they knew he was going to be a good hitter, and it just happened, I think, sooner than the rest of us thought, and credit to them for giving him the opportunity. But I think there's a couple of avenues internally, but trying to piece together, what's essentially a third of the lineup and finding at least one of those bats that's above average. It's not easy when you don't have a whole lot of money to spend. So that's why I wouldn't be surprised if they start, if you see them trade someone to be able to free up some cash, kind of like they did with Soto last year at the deadline or at the winter meetings.
Final one from me, Mike, real quick. Do you feel like it's going to be a wild winter meetings next week?
I actually think it's going to be pretty active. Yeah, the fact that Soto is likely to come off the board either right before or right after it starts is going to start a little bit of a frenzy, and it'll be closer to the ones that we've had in San Diego. All three of the ones that we've had there have been great in terms of the action. And 2 years ago, it was really good too. Last year was kind of a dud until the Soto deal right at the end of it, like right after it happened, after the meetings were over. But that's also what we get for being in Nashville, because that hotel's the worst.
Yeah, it's so big. It is so annoying. And just the idea of it, oh my gosh, it's giving me a headache thinking about it.
My favorite story that I heard from a former GM, that they had a deal in place once, and the GM, he had a deal with somebody, and they said, let me get back to the room and we'll iron this out. And the GM got lost. And for 20 minutes couldn't find his room. By the time he got back, they were like, sorry, we moved on. We didn't hear.
Oh my
dude, that's hilarious.
25 years ago.
That reminds me of a story real quick. We're way up against it, Mike, but I heard once when I was working for a Pirates affiliate in Lynchburg when they were the Pirates, and the Pirates back in the day had an affiliate in Honolulu. and they called someone up, and the dude's like, "Is it just for a spot start, or that you actually called me up?" And they said spot start. He's like, "I'd rather stay. just keep me in AAA." Isn't that hilarious? Isn't that amazing? All right, we appreciate it. Real quick, although we are up against it, are the winter meetings back in San Diego next year or not?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know.
We got to figure that out.
I'll find out next week. I'll text you.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate your time.
Mike.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Take care. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Let's react to that on the other side of Jon and Jim. right, that was a fascinating conversation with Mike Faran, MLB Network Radio. Join San Diego Sports 760. ESET? Am I saying that right? All right. Join San Diego Sports 760 ESET and Cable Pike and Leak Protection to support Rady Children's Hospital. This holiday season, your stories of hope and healing from Rady Children's patients and families during the iHeart Rady Children's Give-A-thon, supported by ESET, your digital guardian. All right. Make a donation today by texting 760 to 51555 or donate at radyfoundation.org/give-a-thon. And listen next Wednesday and Thursday. All right, we're looking forward to that. Me and you probably did that 5 or 6 years ago.
Me and you did that
We were there in 2019.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for Darren in 2019.
Because he was at the
Not the
Army Navy. So I'm looking forward to that. That is a very rewarding couple of days. You don't ask for listeners for a ton. We will ask you to listen in and support the iHeartRadio Children's Give-A-thon coming up next week, Wednesday and Thursday, here on San Diego Sports 760. Per Mike Faran, he thinks it's going to be a pretty active winter meetings. He thinks all of the commotion around Sasaki is premature. And he thinks that it's hard to get a good feel even on Juan Soto, but there are teams being aggressive right now, like the Blue Jays and the Red Sox. And he also agrees with what we've been saying, which is like Padres don't seem to be the team that don't have financial issues. Like they're going to have to get creative. And that's why he's not linking them, or others aren't linking them to a player like Willy Adames, because the expectation isn't that they're going to do something via a splash in free agency this winter.
And that's why I kind of think that this offseason might be Preller's most difficult offseason because of the parameters that he has, because he can't go out and spend a bunch of money. And not saying like a $300 million contract, but
Right.
if they said, hey, this offseason you have $100 million to spend, do you think that's enough?
$100 million overall to spend? Yes, probably enough. Yeah, it's enough if you make it enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if that's going to be the case. So it's going to be difficult for him. But he's going to have to be the most creative he's ever been. I think coming off of what he did last year is a good sign, because last year in the offseason, he was told to trade Juan Soto and their biggest signing was Wandy Peralta in the offseason. And he made a bunch of key trades before the season started and in season. And that's why I do feel confident going into this offseason with AJ Preller to be as creative as possible, because he just had to do that this last year. I'm just worried that it's just going to be more difficult this time around because he doesn't have that big trade chip like Juan Soto. He had to trade damn near all of his top prospects other than Salas and DeVries for Cease and Arise and Adam and Scott. And now it takes some time to rebuild that farm system to a level where you can rip off and trade 2, 3, 4 top prospects without trading the guys that you really want to keep here for pieces that you need right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's real work from AJ Preller, and it's not solely because he's put him in this spot, because we've talked so much about ownership. Some of it is the work of Preller because of some of the contracts. Some of it is the work of ownership and management, because they're going to have a directive here on how much they can spend in 2025. So again, if you missed our conversation with Mike Faran, it'll be up at sportsSD.com or on the iHeartRadio app. On the other side, to kick off hour 2, how about last night for San Diego State? It's not the fact that they won at Fresno State. That was the expectation. It's the manner in which they won. We'll hear from Brian Dutcher on the other side postgame with Ted Leitner, and we'll discuss the breakout performance from a redshirt freshman, a 7-footer Magoon Guath in his 7th college game, in his first road game, putting up numbers that haven't been seen on the Mesa from a freshman since Kawhi Leonard back in 2010. So the Aztecs earn a win. We're here until 6 p.m. We've got Aztec basketball tickets to give away against USD on Saturday night. And this is Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by the Jim Buttrell Real Estate Team. San Diego State won big last night over Fresno State, picking up their first conference win of the year. Magoon Gwath went off for 25, 10, and 2 blocks in the win. Next up, the Aztecs will take on USD at Viejas Arena, 7 p.m. tip time on Saturday night. And news from college football, it's being reported that North Carolina has interviewed Bill Bellichick to be their next head coach. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Buttrell has the buyers. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 2 of Jon and Jim. This hour, your chance to win a pair of tickets to see the Aztecs take on USD. This will be Saturday night at Viejas Arena. In fact, scratch that, this segment, because we're about to hear from Brian Dutcher. So in the next 10 minutes, we will give away Aztec tickets for Saturday night. BJ Rains, Bronco Nation News. There is a huge Mountain West football game. It's arguably the biggest game in Mountain West football history, I would say, because the winner is going to the college football playoff. Boise State, UNLV, I think it's tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific. BJ Rains covers the Broncos. He'll join us coming up at 4 p.m. Chris Hodge, takingvegas.com, will be with us at 4:30 this afternoon. But how about those Aztecs? We'll hear from Brian Dutcher in a moment. This was postgame with Ted Leitner. But how about San Diego State? The way in which they won yesterday, it was a grind in the first half, which was the expectation for me. You're on the road. It's Fresno. It's the conference opener. 29-24 at the break. They didn't score in the first 4.5 minutes. And then they just kind of unleash in the second half. 55 points. Magoon Gwath goes for 25 and 10. They claim 2 blocks in quotations. He had like 30 blocks. They said 2. I say 17. But what a coming of age. I mean, are you kidding? Like 7th college game, first road game, 25 and 10, 3 threes. Come on.
What?
10 of 13. 10 of 13 shooting. Come on.
First media timeout was 3-0 Fresno State. I'm like,
oh, yeah. Jim was like, this thing's done.
I didn't say that.
Stream C. I know. I'm kidding. But people were. I mean,
it was like
tough start. I'm like, relax. It's a long year. Or it's a long game.
Long game. Long game.
And they scored 85 points or 84.
I think his easily most impressive moment of last night's game was his dribble pull-up 3 when it was like almost ridiculous. Like a heat check.
Late first half.
It wasn't a set shot. It wasn't like off a play action. It was, hey, Magoon, get the ball near half court, dribble, pull up 3 in rhythm. Nothing but the bottom of the net. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what was that? Huh? Did he just
pull up 3,
pull
7-footer from the
on
wing?
The break. Yeah. Like he wasn't spotting up in the corner or spotting up on a wing. He had the ball, and I would love to hear what Dutch. If I would love to ask him,
okay,
like that moment especially, like what moment stood out from you the most from last night's Goon game? And I would hope it was the dribble pull up 3 in the first half.
Can we put this in perspective, Jim? Jaden Ledee was an All-American last year that may play in the NBA at some point this year. We'll see. He's in the G League. We've made the case for Jaden a number of times. His first college 3, he was a great shooter. Was Jaden Ledee not a great shooter for a big man? His mid-range game was elite last year.
Yes, 15-footers were.
He was like a 60% shooter.
Almost automatic at times.
On that shot. His first college 3 was in his 5th year. Jaden Ledee. His first made college 3 was last year for San Diego State. You have Magoon Gwath hitting 3 threes in a game. Magoon Gwath hit 3. He was 3 of 4 from 3. He had 3.5. He's got putback dunks. Now, and Brian Dutcher, we'll hear from him right now, says, by the way, he's nowhere near where he's going to be physically.
No chance is he even
nowhere
close
near
to
to a
ready.
finished product.
He is so young, not only age-wise, but basketball years. It's his 7th career college game. 7th. And it's not like they were playing the YMCA team down the street. Fresno is Division I college basketball team. And on the road, nonetheless, puts up, and it wasn't a hostile environment. It wasn't like he went to Duke or Kansas or whatever, But still, on the road, 7th career college game.
First road game.
Dominates.
Kawhi Leonard's the last freshman with 20 and 10. Here.
25-10, 2 blocks.
There's no way that was 2 blocks, dude.
Well,
there's no way.
He affected a lot of people's shots. Is
unofficially 75 blocks. Unofficially had 23 blocks in that game. All right, let's hear from Dutch. This is post game. Ted Leitner, by the way, recognized last night at halftime at the Save Mart Center. I think there was a proclamation from the mayor. I believe it was Ted Leitner Day. Per proclamation from the mayor, they surprised him. His final game in Fresno as the voice of San Diego State men's basketball, which is super cool. And then Ted caught up with Brian Dutcher postgame.
Thank you very much. A happy Brian Dutcher. His team did some wonderful things in Las Vegas. I did not have a chance to see him because the national media had him. And so we talked to his assistants upstairs in the rafters where they put us for that tournament. But Dutch, it's always that I think it's a cliche number 5 where they say, boy, you have a big game. There's going to be a letdown. And I don't know if you're worried about a letdown, but it's human to do that after a big win like that against number 6. This is not a team of any greatness of late. Were you worried about that? Because it sure you didn't have to worry in the second half.
Yeah, this is a first for us, Ted. Our first road game is our first conference road game.
Right.
Because we're playing these early December games, we're going a full round robin. So I was a little concerned that, Fresno had a full week to get ready for us. They hadn't played a game in a week. And we would see their best because it's the conference opener. And 5-point lead, we expanded. We did a good job and took care of the ball for the most part. They tried to press us a lot. And we did a decent job against that. Led to a lot of layups. Obviously, too many free throws we gave up.
Yeah.
Gave them 30 free throws. But that's a product of how they play. They drive the ball constantly. They're downhill all the time to the rim. And they put a lot of pressure on the officials. But for the most part, to get out of here with the win, score 55 in the second half was a pretty good effort.
No question. And that dribble drive motion offense, Dutch, in 25 words or less, what exactly is that and what pressure does that put on differently to your man-to-man defense?
Yeah, I mean, they just spread the floor and they cut and open up double gaps where guys have room to drive the ball and then they drive and spin and they set some ball screens and roll. And, they put a lot of pressure on the officials to call stuff. And that's what Vance has played that way since he started coaching. He invented it to a large degree. So they're good at it. And we were able to guard well enough. I don't like all the fouls, but we guard well enough to get out of here with a win. And like I said, Magoon had a magical night. Wayne was good. BJ was good. And so we got contributions from a lot of guys.
Dutch, I've seen a lot of these guys in terms of the guards through the years and other positions also. But in terms of McKinney and BJ and Boyd, that kind of speed, that kind of quickness, which is obviously different from just speed, but speed and quickness and shooting ability, you're deep. You are deep in the backcourt, and that is huge, is it not?
Yes, we are. We got a lot of depth, Ted, and we need it some nights.
Yep.
We got in some foul trouble, but, we're deep at every position, and that helps us in a game like this. So I was pleased with how the bench responded, and like I said, you get a lead, sometimes you get sloppy and lazy.
Sure.
I thought we did a good job keeping the foot on the pedal. Even, we went to the 4-guard lineup, which we don't do a whole lot down the stretch because we knew they'd be pressing us, and we had 4 guards in there to handle the press and then just get into a 4-out ball screen offense ourselves. I thought we did a good job.
You had Skyler, you had Nate, and now you have Goon in terms of shot blocking, but he seems to be growing up more than just shot blocking. I was on the network with the Bulldogs at halftime to discuss it, and their question was, I've never seen anything like him. What makes him? I don't know. He's 7 foot. He's the 205 pounds, and it's like he has the athleticism of a guard. How do you describe him? Have you seen anybody who can compare him to 25 and 10 with his first double-double? Dutch ain't going to be the last one.
No, he's just growing.
Wow.
He's growing every day, and as he continues to grow physically, he'll get better. Right now, he's still a little weak, but as he gets physically stronger to go with that talent, then the sky's the limit for this young guy.
Hey, Dutch, thanks for coming by. I'll see you at the hotel, see you on the plane. Go home. You had a UCSD City Championship. You got a USD City Championship. Be there or be square, as they say.
Let's see you at Viejas Arena. Hope everyone gets out for the USD game on Saturday.
Well, someone listening right now is going to get out because we're giving away 2 tickets. Not right now. Listen for another 3 minutes and we'll tell you how to win.
Goon already has NBA qualities about his play that you just can't teach. His size, his length, his shot blocking ability. He's going to improve his shooting. You don't shoot like that 7 feet plus.
No. And there's very few people in the world that do. And there are. They're in the NBA.
I mean, you add another 25 pounds of muscle to that frame. Now it's like, this is unfair.
And you already see glimpses. Like there was a play last night, where like hold drive from outside and then kind of lower his shoulder and muscle his way inside.
What I loved is there was a moment, it might have been what you're talking about.
Yeah.
He missed a dunk, but he went up with such force.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes. I always think to myself, if I was 7 feet on a basketball court and I had that size and that length, I would every time down low, even if I got blocked or missed it, try to muscle my way to the bucket because I'm just that tall and that long. And like my arms are I'm just taller than everybody else. And I just love that aggressiveness from Goon last night. I mean, that was not only just a breakout game, that was like an eye-opening, oh my God, is that like the future of this kid?
It's so hard to know. I mean, you have to be careful.
Right, yeah.
You have to be careful. And also with this, like this team, everyone expects, well, man, they just keep showing us something. It doesn't always work like a straight line in sports. Other teams will have scouting reports. There'll be a game where it's going to be hard to do what they did against Houston the second half in overtime, and then hard to have a half like they just had against Fresno State. Like, it's not all going to come like this, like especially with a younger team. I feel like there'll be
a little
some
bit of
highs and lows in there, but how can you not like what you've seen from a team that arguably has been without its best player all year in Reese Waters?
And last night's win didn't, for me, just all of a sudden like, oh, I believe in this team now. No, that was after Saturday's win against Houston.
Right.
After that game, I was like, okay, we might be cooking with some good stuff here.
Oh, and by the way, maybe you noticed that Creighton beat number 1 Kansas by 13 points yesterday, and the Aztecs beat Creighton by 18. Now, Creighton, to be fair, was without their starting point guard against San Diego State, but they won by 18. A point guard's not worth 18 points in any game. And Creighton winning by 13. I mean, you look at some of these metrics. San Diego State had like the greatest metric day in Aztec history. So they're really well positioned. And they do have USD coming up on Saturday night, and you just got to keep this thing going. They barely play in December. USD, a game next Wednesday against Cal Baptist, 10 days off for Cal in Northern California. Then a week later, Utah State home conference open.
I'm just really impressed, not with the win, but just how they responded to a potential letdown game after their win against Houston, which was, we are going to get better as the game goes on, and we are going to just beat down Fresno State. I mean, their defense, like, real quick. So their defense last year down low, and I was watching some highlights from last year's team last night after the game. And I'm like, last year's team was really, really good. But one of the things that I think they were lacking was size and length down low.
Rim protector.
Jaden Ledee, huge body. Wasn't necessarily considered a rim protector. Jay Powell, he was lengthy, but not really considered like a Nathan Mensah type. You got Magoon, Jared Coleman-Jones, Pharaoh Compton.
Yeah, they're all blocking shots, by the way.
Miles Heidi's a big body down there.
Miles Bird block shots.
Miles Bird, his length, it's like they showed a stat on TV. I'm sure you saw it. Like, in the country, they ranked first in blocks.
Yeah, blocks per game. They ranked second in like percentage or something down low. They were a top rim protecting team in the nation, is what the stats showed. I think, I'm not sure if through yesterday, if he still leads the nation in blocks per game. Magoon, he came in leading the nation in blocks per game. I think he's top 2 right now. And San Diego State as a team leads the nation in blocks per game.
Yeah, and that just changes everything defensively when you have like a dominant rim protector behind you, and you are one of the best teams as far as blocking shots in the nation. Just completely changes the defense.
It does. And oh, by the way, Wayne McKinney in the second half had a huge, I think he scored 12 points in the second half. He's taking out his former team Saturday night.
Yeah, big
And if
storyline.
you want to see Wayne McKinney against his former team, call right now. Caller 7, you're going. 2 free tickets to see the Aztecs and USD Saturday night at Viejas Arena. All you have to do is call 877-767-4760 and be caller 7. 877-767-4760. Be caller 7. Call right now for a chance to win those 2 free tickets. All right, Jim is mad at someone in the chat
I'm not
about
mad.
some of his
wanna
previous
respond.
Padres takes. Are they accurate previous takes from Jim or not?
Some of the takes that he's saying I had are not true. But
all
anyway.
right, Jim will respond to someone in our YouTube chat that comes up next on Jon and Jim. AM radio keeps vital voices accessible. Congress can secure its future, but we need your help. Text AM to 52886 now. for keeping AM radio in cars. Tell your member of Congress to pass legislation now. Keep AM radio in cars, standard message, and data rates apply. All right, Jim is flustered. Jim doesn't get flustered. You're really good. Here's a great John Crazy. I always like everyone. My point is, you deal with criticism extremely well. People will be like, Jim, you're an idiot, or you get these stupid Twitter back and forth, social media things. Like, you don't care because I spent time with you, and you don't seem overly concerned.
But when someone
every
says,
once in a while, you'll care.
but when I see somebody say, you said this, and I know I didn't say it, even though I do sometimes have a hard time, because in this business,
we say a lot of things.
we say a lot of things, guys, a lot of things. And
Shows
it's hard.
are long.
It's hard to remember what I said Monday, truthfully. So sometimes, I might say things, but I know that I did not say this.
Okay, what is the YouTube chatter claiming that you said?
Chucky D in our YouTube chat.
What's up,
Thanks
Chucky
for
D?
watching. Like, I don't
Yeah,
hate you.
no.
I just
doesn't
strongly
like you.
disagree with you what you're saying. He says, welcome to another offseason of the skies falling from Jim, the same guy who said that the Padres could never win with an outfield of Profar, Merrill, and Tatis. That's just a factual lie. I never said the Padres could never win with an outfield of Merrill, Tatis, and Profar. Did we have questions about that outfield? Absolutely. A question about, would Jackson Merrill be a stud? Would he be the answer in center field? Could Jerkson Profar in left field for $1 million, hold his own out there? And those are legitimate
Yeah, they're
questions.
all questions.
They're all questions.
Nobody
never
made
once,
a definitive statement like this will not work, and
No.
here's why.
No, so you're wrong on that. Like, definitively 100% wrong. I asked him to find the audio, and he conveniently
Find the audio.
said, well, I can't.
Honestly,
Well,
I can't either, truthfully.
yeah, it's probably a long ways away. And then I don't really understand this. He said, you absolutely said that, but I'm not surprised you conveniently forgot that when you were proven wrong by their play. You guys are clueless. Quote, we know they can't spend like the Dodgers, but spend. Never said that either. Like, I've said all the time, the Padres will never spend like the Dodgers, but still you can spend money. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
This chat is so funny, by the way.
And then he continues to say, how much would make you happy? Oh, and don't raise ticket prices. Let them lose $50 million per year and then get ready for the 90s style fire sale and sale of the team. And I responded, look, bro, if you are concerned about how much billionaires are losing,
Right.
that's something I think that you should kind of just let go.
Well, can I make the comparison? It's like when people say, the Big Ten gets this much in TV revenue. Are Rutger fans sitting in the stands like, yay, we get a lot of money in TV revenue?
No.
Why are we worrying about from a fan perspective, you shouldn't worry about the dollars and cents of sports.
Right. If you're sitting there saying, yes, I want the Padres to raise ticket prices and I want them to make beers $35.
Or you want them to spend more. Okay.
Yeah.
Like you want them to spend more. And we all understand there is a limit. Jim and I'm included. Nobody's ever said, hey, Padres, go double your payroll. That's not what we're suggesting. He followed up, by the way, also saying, you didn't read this, right? I would love it if the Padres are top 5 in payroll too, but given the size of the market, I'm thrilled they're the top half of payroll and I can live with the results. Could be Tampa Bay West. I always love when people like lower expectations for their team.
Right.
Oh, it could be worse.
Yeah, it could be the
we could be
Marlins.
Yeah, we could be in AAA like we were back in the day. This is the San Diego Padres, but now we're in the major leagues. Hey, Chucky D. And now I know you're going after Jim, but I'll go after you. The Padres have 3.2 million people in the building. The franchise valuation is up tenfold since they bought it. Come on.
Yeah,
like you want your organization to push forward, even if it's a hard thing for them to do. You don't want them to say, well, it's a small market, so 15th ain't bad. No, you don't settle.
Unless
in a division with the LA Dodgers, you do everything in your power
to win now.
I mean, there's 3.2 million people there.
Yeah, I'm not worried about 10 years from now. If you are that type of fan, then you don't want them to spend any money. You don't want them to go over CBT numbers. You don't want them to give out long-term contracts again. You don't want them to spend any money because then, a couple of years from now, it might look a little wonky because of all the money that they spent. But Chucky D, unless you are the owner of the franchise, why do you care so much about if the if the owners are losing a little bit of money here and there.
This reminds me of, we see this all the time in all the work we do, whether we're talking about the Padres on the radio or talking on the wrap-up show. Like, how can you say that it was a disappointing year when they did this? I mean, because you have to be honest. Like, you shouldn't just accept, well, 93 wins is the most wins they've had in a really long time. And I'm just happy they got to face the Dodgers. Really? Like, that's how you really felt sitting there in game 4 in your Padres brown and gold jacket. You were happy that they were there?
Yeah.
Nobody feels that way.
Raise your expectation as a fan, or you will be considered, like John is saying there, one of the fans out there that allows and is okay with this type of stuff to happen.
But again, we credit the Padres for their spending prowess by and large the last 5 years.
Yes.
They have pushed the envelope.
Not once have I said, man,
this is
can't
embarrassing.
believe they didn't spend money.
No. And now has
Well,
it come down in the last year? I've been critical of, listen, the Soto trade and lowering payroll, 80, 90, $100 million, whatever it was. To their credit, they won.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a credit to the organization. If they lowered their payroll and traded Juan Soto and followed up their 82 and 80 year with a 78 and 84 year, whoa, that would have been skies falling stuff.
I think, one, thanks for watching, Chucky D. But two, like, raise your expectations, bro. Like, don't be that fan. And if you are, that's fine, whatever. But have a little more, I guess, self-respect for yourself as a fan, because if you are sitting there worrying about, like, how much money they potentially could be losing, you're worrying about the wrong things. It should be about on-field winning baseball games. And I guarantee you, if the Padres spend $1 billion next year or this offseason and they won the World Series, I don't think you're going to be sitting there after the parade happens complaining, oh my God, 2 years from now, this team's going to look awful. No, you're going to be celebrating a World Series trophy.
I'm just so happy we were in that series.
I'm so happy we just made the postseason.
I'm just so happy we only finished a couple of games down.
But that was fun, right? God, it just makes me cringe
honestly,
when I hear
the
those types
funny
of
thing
fans.
is, me and you are similar with that.
Yeah.
We don't listen. I respect the way people consume sports is fine. There's people that like the entertainment value of the Savannah Bananas. And then there's people that are diehard and live and die on every single pitch. There's people in between. So I understand that everyone has the same expectations for their team, but I don't know. They've never won a World Series. They haven't been to one for forever. Can't we hope with Manny Machado, with future Hall of Famers on the team? Can't we hope that they aspire to get to World Series?
The organization, AJ Preller, they aspire to get to World Series.
Absolutely
100%. Mike Schilt, the team, they do. But they do need the resources to get to that goal. And if the ownership group is not allowing that or giving the resources necessary to Preller to do those things, it makes the job much more difficult for Preller to do. And it makes the job for the team more difficult when there are now parameters in place and the organization puts on-field play and on-field, winning secondary to, can you tell us what the books look like?
Yeah, we'll react more to that throughout the course of the next couple of hours. We do have BJ Rains, Bronco Nation News, joining us at 4 p.m. Huge Mountain West game, the Mountain West title game. Winners going to the college football playoff. Will join us at 4 p.m. Chris Hodge taking Vegas at 4:30. But on the other side, would the greatest of all time be the greatest of all time in college? That's next. All right, hey guys, it is Jon and Jim for our friends over at Hamul Casino, and this is an amazing month, all December long, to get to Hamul, especially on Monday nights. Every Monday in December, you've got a chance to win luxury handbags from top brands, Louis Vuitton, Burberry, Versace, and more. 10 winners every hour, 7, 8, 9 p.m. Onyx players getting an extra $100 cash bonus, plus one lucky winner each hour gets the opportunity to pick a purse packed with cash up to $25,000, and you get to keep the purse too.
Yeah, not only could you keep a purse and have $25,000 in cash, but this Saturday night, December 7th at 7 p.m. is UFC 310. You can watch it at Tony Gwynn Sports Pub, Loft 94, or their great poker rooms as well.
All right. So again, this is a great spot to get all month long, including on New Year's Eve. You can join them for the holographic New Year's party, celebrate in style. They'll kick off festivities with $20 free play for all at noon. You won't want to miss it. Celebrate New Year's at Hamul Casino.
Yeah, the Hamul Casino right now. Emerald Chinese cuisine is back. They have a brand new look and a refreshed menu. Get to Hamul Casino today. Amazing food, amazing opportunities to win big time cash. Also, all the sporting events that you want. Hamul Casino, it's fun above all else. This update's brought to you by the Jim Petrell Real Estate Team. We'll start with the Aztecs last night. They won big over Fresno State. They first win of their conference schedule. Magoon Guath had a career night going for 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks, even though John said he had 753 blocks in the game. In the win, Aztecs will now take on USD Saturday night, 7 p.m. tip-off at Viejas Arena. And news from college football. It's being reported by multiple people that North Carolina has interviewed Bill Bellichick to be their next head coach. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Petrell has the buyer. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
All right, so who would you consider? Like, give me the short list of best football coaches ever, regardless of college or pro. Bill Belichick's on the list. Andy Reid
is on the list.
Right, but I mean, Belichick's right there. Obviously.
Belichick's the top.
At college or pro. I mean, when you put
college,
I mean, he's right there.
Nick Saban.
Yeah, he's right there, right? I mean, you go back, the Bear Bryants, whatever, but he's right there. We all understand it. But I was genuinely shocked when I learned this afternoon, and multiple outlets now reporting it, that Bill Belichick has real interest in the North Carolina Tar Heel college football job. This was initially reported by like a site that covers North Carolina football, and now The Athletic and ESPN are reporting it. It was Inside Carolina that broke the news. He's interviewed for the job. Apparently, he was very impressive. How could he not be? Very impressive. But guess what? It's a different world, Jim. We see it firsthand. It's different. Not to say you can't be successful at both. Even going from NFL to college, which I think is somewhat unique for Belichick, but with NIL and portal and the fluidity and the change, what do you think of that possible fit?
Saw a tweet that said, this makes perfect sense. Bill Belichick's girlfriend goes to North Carolina.
That's hilarious. That's right. She's a junior.
Yeah, she's a junior in
That's
North
right. I forgot
Carolina.
she was a sophomore.
Just
there.
easy access, right? Just say he's the coach.
That's right.
She's in school classes.
She's still getting credits there.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it all makes perfect sense.
He is dating a 26-year-old, right?
Yeah. Hey,
That's
man,
wild.
more power to you, bro. It makes sense from this standpoint. He gets to go to a place where he's his own boss. He's never going to get fired, and he controls everything, like Nick Saban at Alabama.
Can I say this? I kind of disagree. Let me explain why. Mac Brown, who just walked away, is a legendary figure at North Carolina. He was there, left for Texas. They won a national championship. He came back. Legendary figure. The game had passed him by at the college ranks, right? Because everything has changed. Now, I get it. Mac Brown's not Bill Belichick, but in North Carolina, Mac Brown had top 5 teams. His first stint is a legendary figure. Bill Belichick, what does full control in college even mean? Do you want to be the GM with the portal open every day? There are no contracts. Your quarterback can walk out the door.
I know.
At the end of the season.
You need money from your NIL initiative.
And even that doesn't guarantee Jim Russell doesn't walk out at the end of the year.
Right. Yeah.
So I guess I'm asking, would it work?
It would be a surprise for sure, but maybe Bill doesn't want to just go to the NFL.
Maybe.
Anymore. Maybe he just wants to be a coach still, but be at a program where there's not a lot of pressure and not a lot of like media coverage like it would be if he was an NFL coach for an NFL team. And I mean, I kind of actually, it makes a little bit of sense to me. It kind of does. Because it sounds like Bill never wanted to leave the Patriots.
Sure.
Kind of forced out.
But that's what I'm saying. If you get forced out from the Patriots, I mean, he's 72.
Yeah. Maybe he wants to coach for just a couple more years.
Yeah, which is what it would be.
And then he just walks away and he feels content.
Right, 3 years
like,
later.
hey, let's go see if I can win at the college level. I've done everything at the NFL level, and if I don't win at the NFL level, guess what my reputation will become? I couldn't win without Brady. Goes to college, he's not going to have that label if he doesn't win at North Carolina.
Of course not. Listen to this. So the News and Observer, it's a paper, I think in Charlotte, or it's in North Carolina. Says sources confirm that they've interviewed him, and then the quote is he blew them away in the interview. But then the reporter writes this: I'm told Belichick's interest is high and genuine, but extremely unlikely to happen due to his age, 72, and his lack of college experience.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're North Carolina, you also have to look at yourself and be like, you could get enamored with the name, but is this the right thing for my program right now? Like you said, he's 72. What's the maximum number of years he would be there? 3?
4 tops.
4 tops.
So a cycle.
Right. So is that ideal? Again, the college landscape is so wild that 4 years actually is a good tenure for a college head coach. There's a lot that don't get 4 years, but I don't know. You're North Carolina, like you go from Mac Brown, who was, I don't know how old he was, maybe 70, to Bill Belichick, who's actually older than Mac Brown. I don't know.
I feel like
really don't.
I feel like this is more of a Bill Belichick thing than it's a North Carolina thing. There obviously is people in North Carolina that know Bill and reached out to Bill to get his, the temperature level of, would you be interested in this? And if Bill's interested, then yeah, he's gonna take the job. But if he's not, it's up to Bill. This is not up to North Carolina.
So you think it's up to Bill? So you think that if someone else takes the job, it's because Bill said no? I think it's kind of a bad look if Bill has genuine and sincere interest and doesn't get the job. But a bad look for Bill Belichick, I guess.
Like if they pass on Bill, and they
you're a
choose someone,
6-time Super Bowl champion, winning
didn't
coach,
that say like, yeah, there's
some.
But read that report again, because it sounded to me like, yeah, there's interest there, but also at the same time maybe some hesitancy on Bill's part, like, I've never been in the college ranks before. Is this become?
I lost the tweet.
Okay. Well, I think if Bill wants the job, if he's telling him like, I want to be your head coach, I think North Carolina's going to do it. But if Bill says, yeah, I want to coach, but I'm also not really quite sure, then they'll move on.
It's just like envisioning. Like Bill Belichick, like this is a wild world. Like as someone
Nick
that's
Saban did the same. I mean,
but
opposite.
He walked. Like you're watching all these coaches of that generation. Now, they are successful X's and O's, brilliant coaches.
Okay.
And then all the things that surround coaching are so significant. The hurdles are so high that they're like, is it quote unquote worth it when my roster can turn over entirely in 1 year?
Okay. But it could happen in the NFL as well. Not the entire roster. But I know they have contracts, but you have contracts in almost in NIL now.
Not longer than a year.
Not longer than a year, but you can say, look, we're going to give you more money this year, or we're going to up your money. Hey, you think of entering the transfer portal? Well, guess what? We're going to give you more money here.
Yeah. It's just an interesting time. I think the better spot for Bill Belichick is an average middling NFL franchise than it would be in college. I do. He knows the game. He knows the rules. He knows roster construction. College, he doesn't know. What if there is a 1 year get up to speed period for Bill Belichick in college? That's pretty realistic. Walking in there, how much roster turnover? To him, all 100 guys are new.
Yeah.
And then 50 guys are out the door and 50 new guys are in. You're just going to hit the ground running, go 11-1?
I think probably the best course of action is just continue to do the Manning cast and be on Pat McAfee and whatever.
Get paid a lot of money to do that.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like you said, yes, I agree. Going the college football route, that'd be difficult, especially at this stage of his life.
Yep.
And this stage of the offseason already. Like, to be all of a sudden considered a winner. What did North Carolina do in this year in the ACC?
They were not good, I don't think, by the end. That's a great question.
They ain't even close to ready.
They're not ready for him, you're saying? Or like ready to win?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious I don't think they were good. They were 3-5 in the ACC, 6-6 overall. I mean, not great.
Blah.
I mean, you're behind. Like, look, okay, like there were 12 teams in front of you.
SMU is going to be in the college football playoff.
I mean, there's Clemson you're dealing with, and Florida State is not going to sit 1-11 every year.
No,
or whatever they went.
I just think that if he were to go to give me a middle of the road team in the NFL.
They're called the Chicago Bears.
Okay, Chicago.
They always are.
But you know what? Bill, I highly doubt will want to go work for who's the owner of the Bears, Brent?
100-year-old woman.
McCaskey's.
Yeah.
I like how you said that. McCaskey's.
Yeah. I mean, they've owned it for forever.
I don't think there's any shot that Bill
maybe that's
will want to go work
example.
for the McCaskey's.
But there's probably a team he would. And typically when you take over for a team, you're not taking over a team that went 13-4 the year before.
I know.
So he's taking over the 8 and 9s.
Yeah, probably.
You know,
and he had a chance, I think, to maybe be the head coach of the Falcons.
Right. Right. A year ago, there was that discussion, right?
No, because remember they didn't even interview him for the job because that was the big story was they wouldn't even allow him to interview.
He was interested. Yeah.
I think college makes a little bit of sense. I just do. I don't think it makes no sense. Like maybe you. I think it makes some sense.
No, I don't think it makes no sense. I just am highly skeptical.
Oh, everybody would be.
I'm highly skeptical.
But
I mean,
think about this. Like I said, if he goes and becomes a head coach in the NFL again, and he doesn't win, and it doesn't look good, and he doesn't make the postseason, that rep of he can't win without Tom Brady will grow and grow. It already was starting in his last couple of years there in New England before he left.
Well, if he gets Brady as his quarterback,
then everything's fine. He goes to college, you're not going to have that following him around. You'll just get the it didn't work in college. But he will always be the greatest NFL head coach ever, even though I think Andy Reid has something to say about that.
I don't know about Andy Reid. Listen, I'm a huge Andy Reid guy. I don't think he has something to say about being better than Bill Belichick at this point.
I don't think at this point in time. Yeah, a lot of work. I don't think that. But if I'm looking at my Mount Rushmore of coaches in the NFL, Andy Reid, not Bill Parcells, Belichick,
Tom Landry, George Halas,
Walsh.
Yeah, absolutely.
I put Bill Walsh. I put Bill Belichick. I put Andy Reid.
Well, this is modern football because you're missing a lot from like the last 50 years. Like Tom Landry.
Well, Bill Walsh in the 70s and 80s. Don Shula, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, but what Bill Walsh did was change the game and change how it was played. The West Coast offense.
Yeah, but you're also looking at it through the prism of being a Niners fan. As in, he's.
You don't put Bill Walsh on a Mount Rushmore?
I mean, if I also had Shula and Landry and Halas, and I mean, I don't know. You tell me.
I'd put him on a Mount Rushmore.
It's just a Mount Rushmore talk.
Greatest NFL Mount coaches. Rushmore talk.
But Rushmore only has 4, dude.
Can we do a Mount Rushmore of Mount Rushmores?
You have to put him in the top 4 of all time. All right, on the other side,
I
Mount
do.
Rushmore talk, plus BJ Rains, Bronco Nation news. Biggest game in the history of Mountain West football, potentially tomorrow night on the Blue between Boise State and UNLV. And Chris Hodge has free picks for our listeners coming up at 4:30. It's Jon and Jim. All right, BJ Rains, Bronco Nation News. We'll talk about the Mountain West title game tomorrow between Boise State and UNLV. We'll talk some Mountain West basketball, and by we, I mean I will. It was pre-recorded. If you missed that.
John didn't tell me that he was doing the interview, so
Yeah, all fair. All fair.
it's okay.
I
I was spending tireless time doing my 2-minute drill.
Yeah, I bet you were. And it was very good. Tonight, Thursday Night Football is a really good game. Now, Chris Hodge is going to join us, so we'll have more on this. Lions 11-1, hosting the Packers 9-3. NFC North rivalry, Amazon Prime, like it always was meant to be, inside at Ford Field. There have been some sneaky, decent Thursday night games. Historically, we don't say that, but 11-1 Detroit hosting 9-3 Green Bay. Implications in the NFC and in the division. Sign me up for that. That's a good game tonight on Thursday Night Football.
A good game?
It's a great game. Is this what's the best game of the weekend? I haven't looked at the full weekend slate, but it's got to be right there.
So we got Lions Packers tonight, and then the next best game to me, John, Chiefs Chargers Sunday Night Football. That's it.
Wow.
That's literally it. I mean, you got Cardinals Seahawks, but like that's more like a division thing. It's not like a great matchup.
Right.
And that is it. Brown Steelers, good divisional matchup. Jameis Winston could throw 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in that game.
Mm-hmm.
But no, those tonight, I would say is the best matchup of the weekend, followed by the Chargers and Chiefs Sunday Night Football, which you can hear right here on San Diego Sports 760.
Well, this is the second meeting this year. The Lions won at Lambeau by 10. When was Thanksgiving?
A couple weeks ago, John.
Was it 2 weeks
last week?
Was it last week?
A week ago.
So do the Lions then have the extra rest?
No, because they both played on Thanksgiving.
Regular rest. That's
They
why they
both played on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm intrigued. Detroit's going to win this game at home, right?
Dude, I don't know.
You don't know.
I mean, divisional matchup last year on Thanksgiving, Packers went to Detroit and beat them up pretty good.
Okay. Well, if that happens, then the NFC is certainly still a ton is up for grabs. Philadelphia, the NFC North. So my theory on a lot of NFL games that matter is like who needs it more theory, and Green Bay needs it more in theory.
Well, I would say Detroit equally,
for the 1 seed. Yeah, equally maybe.
They're game up on Philly. Okay. Minnesota's also 10-2. So they had to have a chance to if the Packers win, Packers would be 10-3.
Yep.
Minnesota would be 10-2 heading into the weekend. Detroit would be 11-2.
What about Philly?
Philly's 10-2 right now heading into the weekend. So division-wise, you got Minnesota, Green Bay, and Detroit. It's not like the Lions are like far and away ahead in the division here. They got to keep up. And if I'm a Lions fan, I like that because it's going to keep this team on their toes. They're not going to get complacent.
The final 3 games where it doesn't matter.
No, they're not like, oh, we have an 11-1 record, and then the next best in our division's 6-6. So if you're a Detroit Lions fan, I think that should be a good thing, that you have to be kept on your toes throughout the rest of the year because you are getting chased by Philly for the 1 seed, and you're getting chased by Minnesota and the Packers in your division. If you slip up, have a 2-game losing streak somewhere, Minnesota's right back in it. The Packers are definitely back in it.
Well, not just that, and then what it means in the conference, the
and
division
then
and the conference. And if you don't win your division, you're automatically slotted as a 5 seed.
Yeah. So
same thing in the AFC though, because the difference between Kansas City and Buffalo is 1 game. It's not in the division, but in the conference.
It's 1 game, and if they have the same record, Buffalo's the 1 because they have the tiebreaker over Kansas City.
Exactly. So I mean that margin's razor thin, but it's a good point in the division. The NFC North. The problem is if you don't win the NFC North, you're a 5 seed.
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
Where if you don't win, if you're the Chiefs, you can still win your division. You could be a 2 seed, not a 1 seed.
Chiefs will win their division.
They'll win the division, but
Bills have already won their
division
division with their blowout win over the Niners.
So. Already, yeah.
I'm looking at it right now. If the season ended today, the Packers would be a 6 seed. They won't even be a 5. Minnesota would be the 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
but that's still all to be determined based on, well, obviously these last 4 or 5 games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, there's a ton of reasons to watch. It'll be a huge viewership night, I would think, because the Packers and the Lions with great records are playing on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah. And speaking of that, the Falcons, who are 6-6,
home game,
4 seed.
Yeah, that's
home
just how
playoff game.
For whatever reason, we accept that. I mean, every once in a while, it becomes a conversation when someone wins a division at 8-8 or 8-9 now. But for whatever reason, we accept that. Should we not accept that? Like, should an 8 and 9 division winner be passed by a team that's 2 games better than that? If there's a 2-game separation, someone's 10 and 7, do they get the 4 seed over the 8 and 9 team?
It's the age-old conversation. Should it just be based on records?
Well, like the NBA.
But then divisions mean
I was
nothing
going to say,
anymore.
if they do that,
Did the
just
NBA get rid of
divisions?
divisions?
No, they still have them for some reason.
So funny.
It makes no
Does it have
sense.
to do with scheduling? Like, do the
Yeah.
Warriors play the Lakers more than they play
Yep.
the Grizzlies?
Yeah.
Even though are they in the same division?
They
Aren't the
are.
Grizzlies and Warriors in the same division?
They're not.
What's the name of the divisions in the NBA?
The Pacific.
Pacific, Northwest,
Northwest?
East,
Northwest?
North. I don't know.
No.
What are they?
Listen.
It's the East, the Pacific.
Oh, it's Northwest. How did you know that? I've never heard of that in my life.
Oh, Jim's an idiot.
You're
He
an
doesn't know
idiot.
anything about sports. You moron. Jim, Northwest.
What is
for
the
stupid idiot.
Northwest division?
Jim's is moron.
Portland.
Who is in the Northwest division?
the Northwest. No one knows the Northwest.
Who is in it?
Portland.
Is Seattle playing themselves? They don't even have a team
Is it Portland
against themselves.
and
There's no divisions in the NBA.
the Grizzlies in it?
Northwest Division is the Nuggets, Minnesota, Oklahoma City, Portland, and Utah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
I just clicked on division.
Oh, but Jim's an idiot.
You are an idiot. Northwest. Wait, Oklahoma City is in the Northwest.
Yes.
He just said that.
But give me a break.
Because it used to be the
We're
Seattle Supersonics, John.
Seahawks,
Yes,
you're right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit you.
Just looking at this thing.
I'm gonna punch you.
I don't like to. I'll give you $400,000 right now
Mhm.
if you can name NHL divisions.
Oh,
Don't even try.
it's Pacific.
It's insane.
Pacific.
What'd you call it?
Is that right? The Pacific.
No.
Oh, so it's not. I don't know. I have no idea.
Exactly. So I don't have to give you 400K. Eastern Conference is the Atlantic and the Metropolitan. The Western Conference is the Central and the Pacific. Somehow you
I
maybe-
got it right.
No, you
Suck
have to
it.
get all 4.
No.
Yeah, do all 4.
Oh, all 4.
Yeah,
I thought you
yeah.
said
I'm not
one.
giving you 400K for one division. It's too much
I
money.
thought you said one.
BJ Reigns, Bronco Nation News. Boise State, UNLV, the Mountain West title game. We'll talk some Mountain West basketball. What's the future for the new Pac-12? Who does he think they should add? BJ Reigns to kick off hour number 3 of Jon and Jim next. You're an idiot.
This update is brought to you by the Jim Petrell Real Estate Team. San Diego State beat Fresno State last night, picking up their first conference win of the season. Magoon Guath, breakout game for him. Scored 25 points, 10 rebounds, and had 2 blocks in the win. Next up, the Aztecs will take on USD this Saturday at Viejas Arena, 7 p.m. tip time there. You can listen to that right here on San Diego Sports 760. Great matchup tonight for Thursday Night Football as the Lions host the Green Bay Packers, 5:15 kickoff time in Detroit. And news from college football, it's being reported that North Carolina has interviewed Bill Bellichick to be their next head coach. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Petrell is the buyer. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. We've got a lot coming your way this hour. Momentarily, you'll hear a conversation from earlier with BJ Rain's Bronco Nation News. I recorded it earlier. If you want the full story there, go back to the 2 o'clock hour. Chris Hodge taking Vegas at 4:30 has free picks for our listeners. If you missed our conversation from earlier with Mike Faran, MLB Network Radio, it was a great conversation. A lot in there on Roki Sasaki's future and Juan Soto and the Padres offseason. We'll play that back for you coming up at 5:30. We do want to remind you, join San Diego Sports 760, ESET, SeaWorld, and Sesame Place to support Rady Children's Hospital this holiday season. Hear stories of hope and healing from Rady Children's patients and families during the iHeart Rady Children's Give-A-Thon, supported by ESET. Your digital guardians. Make a donation today by texting 760 to 51555 or donate at radyfoundation.org/give-a-thon. And listen next Wednesday and Thursday. All right, this might be the biggest game in Mountain West history. Tomorrow night on the Blue between Boise State and UNLV. And I caught up with BJ Rains earlier because he could only do it earlier. And I started the conversation by asking, has there ever been more on the line in a group of 5 game, or even for Boise State, where the winner, if it's Boise, gets a bye in the expanded college football playoff, but the loser might end up, if it's Boise State, in the LA Bowl?
Yeah, partying with Gronk in the LA Bowl is the loser in this one. Yeah. No, I appreciate you having me on, John. And it is crazy. And you think about all the years, all the history of Boise State and the Fiesta Bowls and the 1AA national championship they won back in 1980, and kind of the rise of Boise State the last couple of decades. Some folks would fight me on it in terms of biggest game ever. It's certainly the biggest home game on the Blue in the history, just with what's at stake here. I mean, you're not talking just about Boise State trying to potentially get to the college football playoff. You're mentioning the bye, and that is just a massive deal when you play into all this stuff. So, it's a massive deal for Boise State, massive opportunity. You're talking $7-8 million for the conference for Boise State, because you get the $4 million for the first round. But if you get the bye, you still get that money, and then you get the money for the second round too. So the conference, the money that's at stake, the college football playoff, if it's not the biggest game in the history of Boise State football, I'll maybe say it's second behind the first Fiesta Bowl in 2006. But it's right up there. And UNLV is saying the same thing. Biggest game in their history, too. So all on the line, 6 o'clock, national TV. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Is there any argument? So I look at the college football playoff rankings, and I hear what the commissioners are saying. And, if SMU loses, they should still be in the field. If you make that case for SMU, could you make that same case for Boise State? Because they're not the last team in the field right now. Like, should Boise State, or could Boise State be in this field if they don't win on Friday night?
They won't be, but you could certainly make the case. And I know, like, Dan Wetzel does a great job with Yahoo on his podcast, was talking about this too. Like, You're saying right now that Boise State is better than Alabama. Like right now, the way that you have your rankings, you're saying Boise State is better and more deserving of being in than Alabama. Why should a loss in the conference championship game when Alabama doesn't even have to play change that? So is it going to happen? No, there's no chance. We know how this works. They're not putting 2 Mountain West teams out of 12 in the college football playoff, and they're not bumping Alabama for a Mountain West team. It's just not happening. But, maybe you say SMU gets in because they're higher up. They're number 8, so you can still drop them a few spots for losing, but keep them in. Boise State's resume, 1 loss by 3 points to the number 1 team in the country, Oregon, when if you look at the game, they outgained Oregon in that game. They gave up a kick return and a punt return touchdown. I mean, they should have beaten Oregon in that game. And so they didn't, though. And here they are, and now they're at home. And you could say, hey, you get a chance. You lose at home in the championship game. You don't deserve to be in. I understand that. I get it. And that will be what happens. Mountain West will get 1 team in. But it is an interesting argument in terms of these championship games and why even play this championship game. Boise State's in and would get the bye if they don't play this game. And so it's like, what's the point? If I know there's a lot of money on the line, a lot of exposure, obviously, with Fox and everybody being here in town, and it's going to be great. But Alabama gets to sit there and not play and then potentially jump Boise State if they lose. You got Boise State at 10. You don't have Boise State at 12 right now. You have them in as a quote-unquote at-large team based on the way it's set up. And so, yeah, never will happen, but certainly you can make an argument. And obviously a power team like SMU, they're probably going to get the benefit of the doubt. Why wouldn't a Boise State either? But we know the answer to that.
PJ Reigns, Bronco Nation News with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. What's been most challenging for the Broncos over the last month? You look at some of these scores. I've watched some of these games. They struggled early against San Jose State. I was impressed by the way they bounced back. The Wyoming game, I mean, it felt as if maybe they were a drive away from losing that game. What's changed potentially over the last month for the Broncos?
I would almost say they've just kind of been bored. Like they this is the game they've been looking for. This is what they've been in position for a month. That if they just won out, they knew they were going to be in the playoff and be in this situation. And so I just feel like they, not to say they weren't focused or didn't care or weren't motivated or whatever, that's not the case. But these are college kids and they were big favorites in these games. And I think they were just kind of like in baseball, the dog days of August or whatever. They were just kind of ready to get to this point. They were ready to get. That's why I think the Oregon State game, they actually played better. I know the final score was only 16 in that game, but they were, at the 10-yard line about to go up 21-0 and Ashton Genty fumbled. I mean, just stuff that just doesn't happen. And I thought they looked much better and really were in control of the Oregon State game last week. And I thought that looked more like, Boise State football aside from what the final score indicated. But I think they were just waiting for this week. The last 3-4 games, they knew what they just needed to win. They were big favorites. Didn't play great. They've had some guys banged up. The offensive line has been banged up. The starting safety's been out. Genty's been banged up. I mean, they've had some injuries and things, but I think they were just kind of all along looking for this week right here and for Friday night's game. And now a lot of the guys are back healthy and they're ready to roll.
The best season I saw before Genty from a Mountain West tailback was Rashad Penny in 2017. He finished 5th in Heisman voting. A lot of people thought he should have ended up in New York. He sat in second halves a little bit that year. I remember a game against San Jose State where he had like 200 yards on 10 carries, maybe in a first half on the road. But what Genty has done is truly remarkable. It's one of the great seasons by a tailback in FBS football history. Does he have a realistic shot in your mind, or is this already determined when it comes to the Heisman Trophy?
Well, you look at all the gambling and odds and all that, and you'd say no chance. But from talking to folks at Circa and places down in Las Vegas, I think they just had so much they're in trouble with some of the Travis Hunter bets because they took some pretty good sized bets on Travis Hunter when he was still outside, the 20-1, 30-1 range. So I think some of that is them just moving the line so much because they don't want any more Travis Hunter bets, and they'd be so happy to take money on anybody else. Like, do I think Travis Hunter is a minus 10,000 favorite in terms of gap in realistic odds to Ashton Genty to win the Heisman? No chance. I mean, is Travis Hunter probably going to win? Yes. He's had the prime effect, the national social media effect, the hype train has certainly been super high on him just because of everything that Colorado and Coach Prime and all the times they've been on Fox and Big Noon Kickoff this year. He's certainly got that, perspective, but you know what? He's sitting at home this weekend. He's not playing a game, and Ashton Genty is, and Ashton Genty has a chance on national TV to make kind of a final statement here. I would suspect Hunter wins and Genty probably finishes second, but Genty's certainly going to win the Doak Walker Award for top running back, certainly get to go to New York. And I don't think for a group of 5 running back going to New York and finishing second is anything to cry about. It's been a heck of a season, a historic season, only 341 yards away from passing Barry Sanders' record. I mean, don't get me started on that. They don't include Barry Sanders' bowl game, which they should. I think that should be way too easy just to add that back in. But the quote-unquote record is 341 yards away. Maybe if he runs for that and scores 5 touchdowns on Friday night and they beat UNLV handily, maybe that changes the scale. But I think you're probably looking at a college football playoff game to maybe break that, or a bowl game. But he's had a heck of a year, man. And it's, I mean, you literally can't go to the bathroom like when Boise State's about to get the ball. Like, you literally can't get up and go get popcorn in the concession stand. Like, anytime Ashton Genty touches the ball or Boise State has the ball, there's a chance he could score a touchdown. And it's been pretty incredible. And like I said, he's been banged up the last few weeks. They've had 2 starting offensive linemen out, but they're both back for this game. And he's as healthy as he's been in a while. So I really do think that he's got a chance for a big game on Friday night.
It's funny because Marshall Faulk at San Diego State finished second in Heisman voting. I think he did it with a team that was either 500 or under 500. And obviously Ashton Genty, with the team success and the year he's put together, you could easily make the argument.
You could go down the line with all these great running backs at San Diego
Hillman,
State.
Yeah, and Boise State too, obviously. Some of the best tailbacks, not just in Group of 5, but Power 5 football have been at Boise State or San Diego State over the last 20 or 30 years. Where do you think the Pac-12 turns? I know that's not necessarily the focus this weekend, but they still need at least an 8th football playing member. Any thoughts on where the Pac-12 turns for an 8th and or 9th member?
Well, I mean, it's kind of timely because they're playing UNLV, but I still wish there was some way they could get UNLV back. And I think that just UNLV took the short-term cash grab from the Mountain West, but I think long-term they're looking around. Like, I remember going to San Jose earlier this year, and it's nothing against San Jose State, but you get out your Uber and you look at the outside of the stadium, and then you walk inside and you're just like, this is why Boise State left. Like, nothing. I mean, the facilities at some of these schools, you look at Hawaii and their situation, you look at, I mean, it's just like, what are we doing here? And so you wonder why UNLV, like, long-term would really want to be, grouped with this group of schools instead of the group of schools that are going to the Pac-12. And so I know there's a lot of language in their contract. They're getting a lot of money, at least in the next, 3, 4, 5 years, probably can't happen. But I would love to see, as someone that loves going to Las Vegas too, UNLV be in this mix. But if you're looking like short-term, I mean, I still think Memphis makes a lot of sense. I wouldn't mind seeing Memphis. If that means you got to take a Tulane or a South Florida or somebody else with them, I'm not real high on UTSA. But I still think Memphis, from a basketball football combo perspective, brings a national name, brings a brand, has had success, in both those programs in the last several years. If you can add a Memphis and a Penny Hardaway basketball program to Gonzaga and San Diego State in this basketball league, like that'd be incredible. And so I'm not super high on Tulane. Like I said, if you have to take Tulane to get Memphis, that's fine. But Memphis is the one school that I think would instantly just make this league go, yeah, that's a pretty dang good league. But if you have to take a South Florida, Tulane, UTSA to get Memphis, I guess you do if you need a partner for them. But I would say, contracts, whatever's out the window. If you're just giving me a couple teams, give me UNLV and Memphis. And I think this conference looks pretty good. And I guess you can always throw in the years from now, do Cal and Stanford want to come back at some point? Like, there's a lot of other teams in play, but give me Memphis to start with. And then if you can find a way to get UNLV after that, I think that's a pretty darn good league.
I agree with you. Final one. I mean, Mountain West basketball coming off a banner year. It just was 6 teams in the tournament, and that was probably never going to be realistic to do back-to-back years. But there are 4 or 5 teams that are in that top 50-ish range in the metrics. What do you make of the start of the year? How do you think it maybe shakes out for the league in 2025?
Well, my first reaction is I think a lot of I watched all 3 of those games last night, and the bottom teams, it looked like, got a lot better. There's not going to be a lot of easy nights going to San Jose, going to Fresno. I know San Diego State ended up winning that game pretty handily, but they look like a much improved, more exciting team worth watching, with Vance Wahlberg at Fresno State. And I think San Jose State, going down and giving New Mexico everything they wanted at the pit. Wyoming with Sundance Wicks almost went to Utah State and got a win. They look massively improved. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of off nights at the bottom. Whether or not the metrics show that, or you end up getting rewarded for those wins, I don't know. But I don't think there's going to be a lot of teams in the league excited to go play at most of these road venues in the league this year. And so I think the league's going to be strong at the top. I still think Nevada's good. I still think New Mexico's good. San Diego State, I know a lot of people were down on them, but I think they've proven that obviously Brian Dutcher knows what he's doing. And I did the Lindy's Magazine Mountain West Stories this year. So I talked to every Mountain West coach over the summer. And I remember going in thinking not very highly of San Diego State, just with what they had on paper. And I didn't think they equaled in the transfer portal what they had lost. And Brian Dutcher, I talked to him for 10 minutes and he had me thinking they were going back to the Final Four. Like he was just super high on his team. And it was for guys like Magoon Guath and a lot of these guys that nobody had seen. Well, now you're seeing them, and San Diego State looks every bit as good as a team that could win the league again this year. And so I think that the four there, and I know Boise State lost on a buzzer beater to Boston College, and a lot of people are kind of writing them off already. But I think when it's all said and done, they've proven over time that the last 3 years they've taken an early loss or two and bounced back and been a quality team. So are they getting in 6? No. But can they still get 3 or 4? I don't think that's out of the question. I still think the league is very strong at the top. Like I said, we're not even mentioning a Colorado State, who some of the metrics and stuff don't like, and they're a little further down, a UNLV. I think that from top to bottom, I think there's going to be parity. I think there's going to be some weird scores like we saw last night. We'll see what that does to all the metrics. But I think it's going to be another fun year, another quality year. And you're going to see 3-4 teams right there, in the mix come March for the tournament for sure.
I said final question, but you think Barry Odom stays or goes UNLV?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, it's funny because Brian Harsin, the old Boise State coach, I saw was rumored for the Utah State job or in the mix there, which is very odd for me. I think Brian Harsin would kill it at UNLV. So, West Virginia, Purdue, I know there's some openings out there. I would say – that's a good one, man. I would say I don't know. I would say that he thinks he can get it going there. He's a great coach, but at some point you got to capitalize. This might be the time for him to take a jump, but it's just crazy for Boise State fans because usually their coach is the one that everyone's worried about leaving.
Sure.
But I think Spencer Danielson really does seem like a guy who's been here 8 years and wants to stay for a while. And I think it's kind of nice for Boise State fans to sit with their feet propped up on this one and not be too worried about losing their coach, at least for another year or two.
All right, so our conversation from earlier with BJ.
He had really good questions.
We will get to the wrap. I didn't have my earphones on, nor did Jim.
I said Jim had really good questions.
Have really good questions. Maybe next time.
Love my questions.
We'll sneak in the wrap on the other side because then Chris Hodge taking Vegas as free picks for our listeners, including some Thursday Night Football. So the wrap is next. It's Jon and Jim. Chris Hodge taking Vegas is going to join us in about 7 or 8 minutes. My conversation with PJ Reigns went a little long. Jeez. I just gave you 20 minutes. You did nothing. You listened to TikToks and watched Instagrams and bought Christmas presents.
And meanwhile, you ruined our clock and our show.
Nobody even knows what that means.
But I know what it means, and you know what it means, and Brent knows what it means, and our bosses know what it means.
Yeah, that's good. It means we went too long in the segment, and now this segment's going to be really short.
It's all your fault.
Because we have Chris Hodge at 4:30.
This is all your fault.
What would you do if I wasn't here like the last 30 shows that I haven't been here for?
Well, then I would do a show.
Like I get a text every segment. The show is so long. The show is so long.
And then you'll send me the same text when you are solo as well.
Okay.
Okay.
The latest, I mean, we only have a couple minutes here. I mean, the story of the day is what Jeff Passan wrote about Roki Sasaki today at ESPN.com. And he wrote that the industry should not forget about the Padres, Rangers, or Cubs. And then don't forget that when Ohtani's free agent process was playing out, the Angels were never mentioned among the favorites. I think he's talking about his posting, when he was posted.
Yeah, mystery team.
And then Buster Olney said what? I don't have it in front of me.
Hold on.
Buster Olney basically said the opposite of that.
Yeah. He said that the industry belief is that Roki Sasaki has already chosen where he wants to sign, with the most likely choice being the Dodgers.
Industry belief isn't from Roki. Industry belief. And then from there, most likely. So I don't know what to believe. And we had Mike Faran. If you missed that, we'll play it for you. Coming up at the 5 o'clock hours. Mike's like, don't believe all this speculation.
Oh, do you think that this is bad now? Just wait till next week when he officially gets posted.
Good point. Well, does he get officially posted during the winter meetings? I thought he was officially posted January 15th. He can meet with teams before being posted.
He can?
I think that's what Faran alluded to. He said that he wouldn't expect it until after the holidays.
Well, I thought once he gets posted, he got that 45-day window there.
I think technically you're right.
So then when he's posted, I think he might be posted in December, so he has that window to talk to teams and kind of vet this thing out. And then January 15th arrives, and that's when we'll know potentially where he could go, or that's the date that he can officially sign with teams.
Can Roki Sasaki call us and let us know the deal?
Hey, what's going on, bro?
It is a little confusing, the posting process, but we are getting more reporting on it. I don't think we're actually waiting until January 15th to get real news, but I just think right now it's not fully real.
Do you think before then it will be a report like once he is able to sign, he will
meet with
X
the following
team?
Yeah, I do. That's what I mean. I think we're going to get the Roki Sasaki will be posted X and has scheduled meetings with the Padres, Dodgers, and Mariners. I'm making it up. That's what I expect to come at some point because we've gotten that with other international players. We've seen the public reporting on, he's in Los Angeles.
How long did this Seiya Suzuki thing take? Because I remember you were all in on that guy.
Only like 90 days.
Jeez.
No, it was less than that. Maybe 30 days.
It's a long time.
Something like that.
Oh.
All right. On the other side, Chris Hodge taking Vegas. He's got some free picks for you. He's been really good. I think he's won 5 straight now on the text line. So I'll have Green Bay and Detroit for us. I'll have a college game with it being championship weekend. I'll have an NFL game for us. So we'll talk to Chris Hodge from Taking Vegas. I'll have free picks for you coming up next on Jon and Jim.
This update is brought to you by the Jim Petrell Real Estate Team. San Diego State coming off of their first conference win of the year at Fresno State last night. Take on USD this Saturday at Viejas Arena, 7 p.m. tip time there. Of course, you can listen to right here on San Diego Sports 760. NFL Thursday Night Football tonight. Lions and Packers in Detroit, 5:15 kickoff time there. And college news of the day, college football news. It's been reported that North Carolina has interviewed Bill Bellichick to be their next head coach. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Petrell is the buyers. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
All right, Chris Hodge taking Vegas, who has been red hot on the text line. I think they're now up to 5 straight wins on the text line. Back with us on the free picks for our listeners as well. This is a huge, I don't need to tell you this, is a huge football game. Green Bay and Detroit, we've been talking about today in San Diego. Jon and Jim. Now, how can our listeners get this game? Thanks so much for hopping on.
As always, my pleasure being on with you guys. Text the word win to the number 545454. You'll get a free play on tonight's Green Bay game. You'll also receive a college basketball game as well. Definitely a tough game from this standpoint. Detroit has injuries all over the field. It was like they were going to the infirmary on Thanksgiving Day. It was like every day. There was no commercial match you've ever seen in a football game. But Green Bay has some injuries as well that have not, been really reported the way they should be. So you have injuries on both sides. Detroit went to Green Bay, so on that game. I think it's a tough game. I think it's a really hard game for the public to call. We've researched this game for the last week. So if you text the word win to the number 545454, you'll get that absolutely free.
Chris, this weekend, it's conference championship weekend. Clemson, SMU. Clemson trying to steal a bid there to head to the college football playoff. What's your play on this one?
I'm going to go with Clemson and take nothing away from SMU. Great first year in the ACC. But if you watch the two teams play, and I know Clemson just lost a really tough game to South Carolina. And look, South Carolina right now, they're like a team you wouldn't want to face. They're not going to get in the CFP, but if they did, they'd be a problem. So Clemson ran into a good team there at the right time for South Carolina, wrong time for Clemson. But if you look at the offensive and defensive lines for both football teams, Clemson is simply better. Clemson has played big games before. Their coaches have coached big games before. This is really the first real game anyone on SMU is actually playing. Prime time, championship game against a very solid program. And Clemson simply has the better athletes. Clemson lost a game to Georgia, which they got killed, week one. They lost a tough game to a very good SEC team. Yeah, the Louisville game was a bad loss, but I believe that Clemson is simply the better football team. I believe that. And I believe they're better up front on both sides. So you get them at +2. I think Clemson makes it really interesting for the CFP because if they go and beat SMU, now you have a very interesting discussion if Bama or SMU or even Ole Miss should get in. So I think Clemson's really going to throw the monkey wrench into this thing and win the game outright.
You know what? I agree with you. Here's the other factor to consider. The game's in Charlotte. It's going to be all Clemson fans. I mean, there's not going to be SMU, doesn't have the largest fan base. So you got to think they're going to be outnumbered 9-1 or something like that in the ACC title game. Again, if you want tonight's game, this massive Thursday night showdown, Green Bay and Detroit at Ford Field, just text the word win, WIN to 545454. You'll get it for free. Text the word win to 545454. Then you switch gears to the NFL. The two biggest games of the weekend, tonight's game and then Sunday night's game, Chargers and Chiefs, Sunday Night Football. What's your opinion there?
So, last week we come on and I said, look, you really got to be a lunatic to make this call. But just the way the Chiefs are playing, I gave out a free pick on Las Vegas. They covered the game and probably should have won the game outright. The last game Kansas City covered was against the San Francisco 49ers. That's the last game they covered. Okay? They have not been playing well. This team reminds me of what Philadelphia did last year where they started off so hot and then just fell apart. Now, Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, those guys aren't going to, fall off a cliff like Philadelphia did last year. But I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know if they're just going through the motions until the playoffs come around, but they are just not playing well. They could have lost to the Panthers, who stink. They could have lost to the Raiders, who stink even more. They're not playing well. They could have lost to the Broncos, who were playing well, but they block a field goal there. They're not playing well. The last time these two teams played, Jim Harbaugh had a chance to go up 13-10 in the game. He elected to go for it. They didn't get it, and Mahomes took the Chiefs right down the field in L.A., and they win the game 17-10. Kind of an evenly matched game up until that point. I just can't lay forward with Kansas City. It sounds crazy to say because this team wins the Super Bowl every year, and they're 11-1. But I just can't lay forward with them. They're playing close games. The Chargers are playing good football. The Chargers play good defense. The Chargers can run the ball. I know Dobbins is out, but they can still run the ball. I think it's going to be a close game, and if the Chargers lose the game, I don't believe they're going to do so by more than 3, and I think the Chargers could win outright, so I'm going to take the 4 points there.
All right, so we've done college football. We've done the NFL. College basketball is underway right now. How's it been going with you for college basketball this season?
So right now, this is the best start we've ever been off to in college hoops. I mean, we've caught a couple breaks. There was a Oklahoma game the other night that I couldn't believe we won. We won on a technical foul because some idiot walked on the court.
Huh.
But it was crazy the way we won that game.
It's a bad beat.
But,
or good beat, actually.
Good win.
Good beat.
Exhilarating win for us.
Yeah. Someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. But, when it's going good in a certain sport, I mean, you tend to catch those breaks. So we have a big game on TCU and Xavier tonight. That game goes in about 20 minutes for you guys. We really like that game a lot. We're giving out the free play on the Green Bay-Detroit game. Again, if you text the word WIN to the number 545454, you're going to get that play absolutely free. Gave you guys a couple free picks on radio, but college basketball, we're off to a great start. We're working really hard with it with all the transfer portal guys and, incoming freshmen and that type of stuff. And the hard work has paid off to a 30-13 record. So hopefully we keep it going with the TCU Xavier game tonight.
Chris, before you go, is this for you? Is this the best time of year? I mean, you got so much crossover, so much football heading to the postseason. Like, what's your favorite time of the year for what you do?
Honestly, and I'm kind of glad you asked the question. This is the time of the year I feel the most pressure. To be honest, because we know what's coming up. Christmas is coming up, and there's great families out there. And when I do my radio show, I always tell people, hey, when you gamble, there's a risk. Please don't ever afford, more or risk more than you can afford. Never want to see that happen. So if there was ever a time of the year where you really had to be locked in and win, it's the next 2.5 weeks because you want people to have extra money to spend on Christmas with their families or Hanukkah or whatever celebration they have. So I feel the most pressure at this time to win. There's always pressure to win for my clients, but I feel the most pressure to win during this time, and I hope to get it done. We're usually very good during this time of the year, so I hope that continues. 5
straight wins on the text line here on Jon and Jim. He's got Green Bay, Detroit for free for you right now. Just text the word WIN, WIN, to 545454. That's WIN to 545454. Chris, we are in the holiday season. Happy holidays, and let's do it again next week. All right.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, guys. You have a great night, all right?
All right, we're looking forward to it. Yeah, Chris Hodge taking Vegas with us, as always, every week, every Thursday on Jon and Jim.
Man, if Clemson beats SMU.
I tend to agree. SMU, first year in a power league.
Right.
Clemson has lived in this spot for a decade. They're playing the game in Charlotte, North Carolina. How many SMU fans are in Charlotte, North Carolina? I mean, again, I'm sure they're excited about this, so I'm sure there'll be thousands, but yeah, the college football playoff. I mean, here's what I would say. We haven't really discussed the format that much, Jim. I think the format is dumb. I think they got the format dead wrong because you're giving buys, with all due respect, to SMU. If they win this game, they're getting a bye. They're the 3 seed. And Texas or Georgia or Oregon, the schools that are losing the Big Ten or SEC championship games, they don't have a bye. Why not just let the conference champions in, but then just seed them? When San Diego State wins the Mountain West tournament in basketball, guaranteed bye. You're in the round of 32 or guaranteed 2 seed. I just think they really overemphasize conference championships. Just let the teams in. But if SMU wins the conference title, you don't have to make them a 3 seed and give them a bye. Make them a 10 seed.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah, and I saw this take. I saw this not only from you there, but I saw it on social media from some people that cover college football. Todd McShay, that's who it was.
Okay.
And they had the same take. There's like, it's outrageous.
I just think it's too much power for the conference champion.
I think that it makes winning a conference championship actually mean something. Like no, it does. You're in the college football playoff, but what if one year San Diego State is 12-1?
Okay, I'm listening.
And they win the Pac-12 conference,
and then they're seeded,
and they're
11th.
They're 11th. You'll lose your freaking mind.
No, I won't, because guess what? That's how it's set up now. Top 4 get a bye. 5th, good luck. Now Boise just happens. I'll give you an example.
What if that, like, they're not going to overtake Georgia or an Alabama 2-loss team there, and then
we say that again.
So
give me the example.
Okay,
give me the example.
All right, Big Ten school.
Yeah,
they win their conference. Oregon, they're in. All right. Okay. Alabama, they win the SEC. They're in.
Sure.
Right.
These are all hypotheticals. We know that.
Yeah. Okay. And then you also have
Clemson in the ACC, and in the Big 12, just name a school. Kansas State or Iowa State.
Give me a bigger brand.
There's not that many. Utah. That's about the biggest brand in the Big 12.
Utah has the same record as San Diego State, or San Diego State has a better record than Utah.
Yeah.
And Utah's a 4, and San Diego State's an 11 or 12.
That's going to happen all the time.
You'll lose your mind.
No, I will. But don't you? It's good. I expected it this year. The fact that Boise is ranked higher than the Big 12 champion right now. I think, you know what I mean? I think it's because Boise is a brand. I think if Boise was New Mexico, if New Mexico had this season, there's no chance they're getting a bye.
Well, then add 3 more schools or 4 more schools.
You want 16? You're saying?
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
Because then every conference champion gets a bye, and you don't have to worry about that.
I don't know if they'll get a bye because it's 16. You have 1 for 16 and 2 for 15. But I mean, you put them in.
I just like now. Yeah, granted, if you win your conference championship and you're a 3-loss team, should you be able to get a bye? Arguably, no, absolutely not.
Right.
But if
I see your point. I know. I completely see it.
Like tomorrow night for Boise,
everything is on the line.
Everything is on the line. They win, they get a bye in the college football playoffs.
Can I ask you this? Why is it that SMU that makes its conference championship, or I know we have to break, or Boise State makes its conference championship, if they lose, why is it they leave the field that they're currently in, yet Alabama sits at home and eats gummy bears and benefits from a team losing that game?
Because it's Alabama.
On the other side, Trainwreck Radio, you're right. Who wants 2 free tickets to see San Diego State against USD at Viejas Arena on Saturday night at 7 p.m.? If you want 2 free tickets to see the Aztecs at Viejas Saturday night, an amazing prize. You need to call right now. 877-767-4760. Call right now. First 2 callers will be contestants for trivia. Call right now. 877-767-4760. We'll play Trainwreck Radio. That's trivia on the other side. And someone's winning 2 free tickets to see the Aztecs take on USD Saturday night at Viejas Arena. Call right now. 877-767-4760. That's next. All right, hey guys, it is Schaefer, and stop letting high interest debt weigh you down. Pay it all off in days thanks to Loan Pronto's new Rapid Equity Loan. Listen up, homeowners. Imagine a completely hassle-free way to cash out your home equity. No appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. Loan Pronto's all-new Rapid Equity Loan uses AI-driven technology to get you approved for cash out in as little as 1 day. One client got $100,000 approved in under 24 hours, wiped out their debt, launched a home improvement project, and is now saving over $1,000 a month. Instant approvals, low fixed rates, fast transfers. Get cash to consolidate all your debt and get a fresh start with the new year coming. Call Loan Pronto now and see how much you qualify for. Imagine this time next week, you could be credit card debt free. Don't wait. Get your cash fast. Call 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. On approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org. Join San Diego Sports 760 ESET, SeaWorld, and Sesame Place to support Rady Children's Hospital this holiday season. Hear stories of hope and healing from Rady Children's patients and families during the iHeartRadio Children's Giveathon. Supported by ESET, your digital guardians. Donation today by texting 760 to 51555 or donate at radyfoundation.org/giveathon and listen next Wednesday and Thursday. If you missed our conversation with Mike Faran, great voice on MLB Network Radio. We've got you covered coming up at the top of the hour. Roki Sasaki, Juan Soto, Padres offseason. You won't want to miss it with Mike Faran coming up in about 10 minutes. All right, let's get to this.
Three questions, two contestants, one lifeline. Today's two contestants, we have Chris and Edgar. Chris, you called in first. So you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'll go with John.
All right, Chris and John.
Chris and John. Edgar, you there, buddy?
Let's go, baby. Let's do it.
All right.
We always win together. Don't trip.
Wow.
Love it. Love the confidence. Edgar, you get me as your partner. Brent, what is the question of the day?
All right, guys, we talked earlier about Bill Belichick allegedly talking with North Carolina about their head coaching job. The hoodie has the most Super Bowl appearances as a head coach with 9. There are 8 other coaches that have appeared in 4 or more Super Bowls. Today's question, name any of those other 8 coaches with 4 or more Super Bowl appearances, not wins, appearances.
I like it.
All right, let's go. Edgar, you're up first. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Let's go lifeline.
Oh, off the bat. All right. Easy one. I'll give you a layup. Andy Reid.
Let's go.
Andy Reid on the list. There we
Look
go.
at you.
You're welcome. Chris, you're up next. What's your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Chuck Noll.
Chuck Noll.
With the Steelers 4. Okay.
Edgar, back to you. You have no lifeline, so this is up to you now. What's your second guess?
Well, 4 or more, you said, right?
Yeah, 4 more appearances in the Super Bowl as head coach.
Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll. No. He has 2, I think. Chris, back to you. Second guess. You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm feeling good about Tom Landry.
Tom Landry.
4?
4?
Oh. Wow. Well done. Jim didn't want to put him on the Mount Rushmore. Kyle Shanahan, throw him up there.
No, Kyle Shanahan does not get in the Mount Rushmore. Edgar, you need this to stay in the game. What is your final guess? You do not have a lifeline, so this is all up to you, man.
Bill Walsh.
Bill Walsh. Very
4.
good. Very good. Yep, on the list.
Oh,
right.
Jim's
3.
Oh, that'll do it.
That's right. Oh,
Mr.
my God.
Niner himself.
That's
Mr.
right.
Niner super
Mr.
fan, my
Rushmore.
ass.
He's not even one of
That's
the 9
right.
coaches
He only
that
has
has coached
3 Super Bowls, and
Oh,
George
my
Seifert has the
gosh.
one in 89, 90.
Sure. You know they play with a football and they throw the ball? It's neat. You know how many points a touchdown is? 6.
I blanked, but it wasn't me. I didn't give him the guess.
You're like, yeah, let's go. Marv Levy, Bills is on my
4
list.
straight. Yeah.
There's some other people
he's
on there.
on the list.
Definitely.
There's a couple other people.
How about Vince Lombardi?
No.
Loser, idiot. You didn't know football?
He only made 2 Super Bowls.
Well, yes, but he won like 7 titles.
In the pre-Super Bowl era.
Idiot.
No, I thought this was title.
No, I said Super Bowls.
The other dude that was always on, Hank Stram.
No. All right, Belichick's
George
number
Halas.
1. He had 9. Don Shula.
Oh,
that guy.
Shula.
Yeah, he had 6. Andy Reid had 5. Landry had 5. Chuck Noll, Joe Gibbs, Bud Grant, Marv Levy, and Dan Reeves all had 4. And that was everybody.
It's a good list. It's a very good list. You know who's not on that list? Jim's boy, Bill Walsh, who we put on that list. All right.
Shut up.
Mike Faran, MLB Network Radio. Really good conversation. Roki Sasaki, what's a potential landing spot? What about Juan Soto? And what are the Padres going to do with their financial issues heading into 2025? What moves can the Padres make? Mike Faran, MLB Network Radio will join us to kick off hour 4 of Jon and Jim. That'll come your way next. Stay with us.
All right, this update is brought to you by the Jim Petrell Real Estate Team. Thursday night football, moments away from kickoff in Detroit as the number 1 seed Lions in the NFC take on the Green Bay Packers. 5:15 in Detroit there. San Diego State coming off a big win last night against Fresno State, picking up their first win in conference play behind a career night from Magoon Gua, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks in the win. Take on USD Saturday night, 7 p.m. tip-off. You can listen to that right here on San Diego Sports 760. In college football news of the day, it's been reported that North Carolina has interviewed Bill Bellichick to be their next head coach. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Petrell is the buyer. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour 4 of Jon and Jim. We're here until 6 p.m. They wanted a 4-hour show. Me and Jim spent more time. It's a lot of time because now we're talking to each other off air at the breaks, and we're yelling at each other at the breaks.
I just want to say this.
People on air.
I just want to say this.
Yeah.
You wasted 2 minutes of my life during the break talking to me about something that I just don't care about.
I know.
That I'll never get back.
Correct. It's only 2 minutes.
You know how many times you do that to him every day?
All the time.
All the time. But it's different when you are telling me the story.
And you just didn't care.
And I'm like, dude, I don't care.
I know.
But you kept telling me the story.
I know. What your face was.
And then you got like upset with me
because I
didn't care and I didn't know who you were talking about. And I'm like,
right.
Huh? And the sad part is when you asked Brent if he knew this person. He knew. So I'm like, should I know this person? But then I'm thinking to myself,
absolutely. Now I don't want to discuss it.
I don't want to know. I don't know this person, and I don't think a lot of people know this person. And if a lot of people know this person, then I guess I'm an idiot.
Everyone knows.
I guess I'm an idiot.
This is basically like not knowing Michael Jordan.
I guess I'm an idiot then.
All right. If you missed our conversation, Mike Faran is as good of a baseball guest as we have on Jon and Jim. MLB Network Radio really dialed in. Great baseball insider. We had him on earlier to talk about Sasaki and Soto and the Padres. We started the conversation talking about Roki Sasaki because we saw what Jeff Passan said. Hey, Padres and Rangers and Cubs. But then we heard what Buster Olney had to say. So here were his thoughts on the situation with Sasaki.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it wasn't Buster's opinion. That was Buster had that opinion from people around baseball. But I think that's, there were people that said that about Ohtani last winter. There are people that say that all the time about the Dodgers now. That the people have been saying this about Sasaki for a year, and I don't necessarily buy it. I think there's, in the end, it's going to come down to who makes the pitch, and maybe he wants to be a Dodger, or maybe he would rather be with the guy who is his, essentially his baseball godfather, Yu Darvish, or maybe he'd, the teams that are going to be able to offer the most money to him, if that's something that matters, will be like the Milwaukee Brewers of Minnesota Twins. So I think it is really foolish to try and parse too much into this right now. He's not even been posted. The signing window won't even begin for him until January 15th because of the way the amateur calendar works. He's not posting in this current window, which ends on December 15th. And so he's more than a month out from being available and probably isn't going to talk to teams very much, I would think, before the holiday. So before the Christmas holiday, at least. So I think it's all rampant speculation by someone who saw Ferris pass out of 31 flavors.
Well, as you know, Mike, during the baseball offseason, rumors are what drive the content for guys like us. So
I mean, yeah, but I get it. Like, they drive the content for me too, but we have to be able to filter out legitimate rumors from crap.
Absolutely.
And it's not always easy to do, especially when, like, I have no doubt that Buster's sources told him that. Like, that's a prevalent feeling around baseball, but it doesn't mean that we have to repeat it if we're not sure about it.
Right, exactly. Mike, let's just go to down the road here and say, all right, the Dodgers also get Sasaki. There's a world where they also get Juan Soto. They just signed Blake Snell. What would be your thought on if all of those things actually happened?
Lucky Dodgers. I mean, somebody needs to step up and pay Juan Soto so he doesn't go there. Somebody needs to sell a better pitch to Sasaki. I mean, the Dodgers are doing everything right now, right? Not only are they winning, but they're adding premium talent, and they're helping that premium talent get better. And I think that's the part that is really, outside of their financial wherewithal, which is clearly a huge part of this. But the rest of it is that they're doing a better job of helping players develop than other organizations are. So I think that if somehow the Dodgers run the table and end up with Soto and Sasaki, and I am highly skeptical that they will end up with Soto first and foremost, I'm less skeptical that they would end up with Sasaki. I think it should be a wake-up call for other organizations to figure out how to do it better. I don't think it's any coincidence that the Dodgers win the World Series and are adding all these players, and all of a sudden the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Blue Jays and these large market teams are starting to spend more. I think like teams like the Cubs are asleep at the wheel comparatively for this premium talent. And like, it's not a surprise, but life isn't fair. Business isn't fair. The Dodgers are playing by the rules, by every single rule. They have a destination that's a good one, that's going to give players a chance to win. So it's time for you to put on the big boy pants and, strap it down and get going, and let's figure out a way to make your organization better. Because the other thing too is that, like, we know that this doesn't necessarily matter in the playoffs, right? Because especially in a short series, anything can happen. And there's a chance for other teams to beat the Dodgers there, but they're going to be one of the favorites going into the playoffs again next year, and they're going to have a chance to be the first National League team to win back-to-back World Series since the Reds nearly 50 years ago.
That doesn't necessarily go over well in San Diego. Mike Faran, in terms of them winning back-to-back World Series. So, but like you said, I
think there's probably
29
about other markets that doesn't go particularly well.
And it's funny.
So, yeah.
And to your point, I mean, the postseason is so finicky. We don't have to go back more than a few weeks to recall the Padres leading the Dodgers in a best-of-5 series, 2-1, and being at home, coming off some really impressive games in games 2 and 3, where it felt like they were right there until they weren't, and they didn't score for 24 consecutive innings. So it is hard to predict, obviously, baseball's postseason. All right, so you said that you find it unlikely. I think a lot of people agree, Mike, that Juan Soto ultimately ends up in Los Angeles. Who do you see right now as the front runners? Do you think that this does come to an end sooner rather than later? And who are these front runners right now?
Yeah, I don't know that I can pick a front runner because I think in the end it's going to depend on what Soto wants. I mean, as of right now, it sounds like the Jays and the Red Sox are being super aggressive. The richest owner in sports wants Juan Soto, which is the Mets owner. And when was the last time the Yankees lost a player that they really wanted? Remember, we had arson judge, not Aaron, going to San Francisco with John Heyman's tweet a couple of years ago, and the Padres had offered more money, or at least offered the concept of more money, and the Yankees were like, we'll match the Giants, and Judge went back, right? So, like, I don't know that I can handicap it. I do think that the Dodgers have other avenues, right? Like, the most likely scenario with the Dodgers is that they were hoping that the market would fall out for Soto and that they would be able to, sign him. Now, he's a unique player, right? Because he'll play at 26 next year, and he's going to be a star for the majority of that contract. If it's, let's say I'm expecting him to be right around or exceed the length of Tatis's deal. So 14 or 15 years. For 10 of it, you're getting a star, most likely. And so I am a superstar for the vast majority of that. So maybe the Dodgers are still in the mix there, but they have a lot of other avenues that are in play. And I'm not sure that they have the same desperation that those teams in the East do. I would not be surprised if the Jays come in as the highest bidder. Now, then the question is, does he want to go to Toronto? Which I think is, like, for those of us who've been to Toronto, like, sign me up. I'll spend 15 years in Toronto making, $45 million a year. But the reality is that for baseball players, it can be tougher because every time you have to travel, which is, for 90 days, every time you leave the country or come back to the country, you have to go through customs. And that's kind of a pain in the butt when the rest of your travel is relatively easy compared to what the rest of us have to do. So I don't know if that's going to happen, but those teams are going to be right there at the end. And my guess is that number is going to be probably close to 15 years and $700 million before it's all said and done where he signs.
Mike, I don't know where you were this morning, but if you were sitting down when you saw that the A's spent $67 million on Luis Severino, did you fall out of a chair if you were sitting
I
on
was
it?
on the air.
Oh,
we
my
were in
goodness.
the middle of our show, and that came across, and I was like, wait, I got a text from somebody. I didn't even see it because we were in the middle of an interview. And I got a text from a buddy of mine who was like, really? And I went, wait a second. I had to triple check. Like, listen, I knew that the A's were interested in spending, right? Because they've said that. David Forst, who's their president of baseball operations, is a guy who is, like, as honest as the day is long. As much as the A's get crap for ownership and all sorts of other stuff, like, Dave Forst is, like, he's a real one, right? And he said, listen, we want to spend money. And Mark Kotze had said at a thing at USC, 2 weeks ago, he's like, yeah, we had interest in Walker Buehler, but he wasn't that interested. So they were checking boxes. I mean, they had to probably overpay a little bit for Severino. I don't know that number is, it's not all that different than what Yusei Kikuchi signed for. And I think those are fairly similar pitchers, at least in terms of, which silo you would put them in. But I think, I'm impressed that they spent. I'm disappointed for A's fans in Oakland because I wonder why they weren't willing to do this then. And that goes back to the owner, right? So, that's a good young team. They have a lot of position player talent. They need pitching, and they probably still need more. But it at least gives them a chance to be more competitive in what's pretty wide open, that is the American League West for next season.
So, Mike, we see the spending that's going on so far this offseason. The Padres really have not been included. I think they've got a $900,000 deal with Tyler Wade.
It's still early. It's only
very
December
early.
5th.
It's very early, and we know A.J. Preller's as creative as they come, so it doesn't have to solely be via free agency. But you look at where the Padres are, it doesn't sound like they have a strong desire to go over a CBT. That to me seems unlikely from our seat. So how do you put this thing back together, like the Profars and shortstop and Kyle Higashioka to the Texas Rangers and Joe Musgrove's out? Like, what are you thinking if you're AJ Preller and you are up against a dollar figure?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where you need to try and create some flexibility, right? And that's not necessarily easy to do, right? So, to me, the guy that is potentially the most movable is probably Cronenworth. If that were the case, and I don't know that that's the route the Padres are going to go. But I think, Bogart's contract is too long and too expensive. Machado is too long, too expensive with a no trade clause. Tatis, you'd be foolish to move, right? You start getting into pitching, and if you wanted to move pitching, well, you're going to weaken what's already a spot that needs to be upgraded. I guess the other one is Suarez. Robert Suarez had a great season last year and is a really good closer. He signed for 3 more years, and that bullpen's pretty good. Like, that Jason Adam acquisition last year was a really good one. That guy is excellent, and he's under control for a couple more seasons. So, those are the kind of places where you could free it up. The shortstop question is a really interesting one because on paper, they're a great fit for Willy Adames, but we haven't been linking them to him because of exactly what you said, right? Like, we think there's a dollar figure they're up against. Obviously, they know Ha-Seong Kim, but they also know the medicals on Ha-Seong Kim better than anybody because he's coming off shoulder surgery, and that is really risky for a shortstop if you don't know if he can throw it across the diamond. So, and I guess they could play Bogarts there, but certainly playing Bogarts at short, Cronenworth at second, Arise at first, maybe that is an alignment, or maybe they could go after a first baseman. Maybe they can get Paul Goldschmidt on the cheap or something like that, or where they decide that they have enough money to commit 3 years for somebody like Christian Walker. Walker would be a good fit for them because he's such a good defender on top of being a good hitter. But I think those are kind of some of the avenues. And the catcher situation, there aren't that many catchers that are available. Like the best one on the free agent market now is probably Danny Jansen, and the next best is Carson Kelly. Those guys aren't super expensive. If they wanted to go back down the Profar road, I support it because it seems to be the one place in Profar is comfortable enough to really put up good years. But there are other avenues that are available to them too. And let's not forget that they were super aggressive with Jackson Merrill. And I don't know that Leo DeVries is all that close to being ready, or that Ethan Salas is. I mean, Salas really hasn't produced in the upper levels of the minors yet. He's still super young. But there's always the chance that they find a candidate that's internal for one of those spots. I don't think that they're going to, I don't want to say that they lucked into Jackson Merrill being as good as he was. I mean, they knew he was going to be a good hitter, and it just happened, I think, sooner than the rest of us thought, and credit to them for giving him the opportunity. But I think there's a couple of avenues internally, but trying to piece together, what's essentially a third of the lineup and finding at least one of those bats that's above average. It's not easy when you don't have a whole lot of money to spend. So that's why I wouldn't be surprised if they start. If you see them trade someone to be able to free up some cash, kind of like they did with Soto last year at the deadline or at the winter meetings.
Final one from me, Mike, real quick. Do you feel like it's going to be a wild winter meetings next week?
I actually think it's going to be pretty active. Yeah, the fact that Soto is likely to come off the board either right before or right after it starts is going to start a little bit of a frenzy, and it'll be closer to the ones that we've had in San Diego. All three of the ones that we've had there have been great in terms of the action. And 2 years ago, it was really good too. Last year was kind of a dud until the Soto deal right at the end of it, like right after it happened, after the meetings were over. But that's also what we get for being in Nashville, because that hotel's the worst.
Yeah, it's so big. It is so annoying. And just the idea of it. Oh my gosh. It's giving me a headache thinking about it.
My favorite story that I heard from a former GM, that they had a deal in place once, and the GM, he had a deal with somebody, and they said, let me get back to the room and we'll iron this out. And the GM got lost. And for 20 minutes couldn't find his room. By the time he got back, they were like, sorry, we moved out. We didn't hear.
Oh my
dude, that's hilarious.
25 years ago.
That reminds me of a story real quick. We're way up against it, Mike, but I heard once when I was working for a Pirates affiliate in Lynchburg when they were the Pirates, and the Pirates back in the day had an affiliate in Honolulu. And they called someone up, and the dude's like, is it just for a spot start, or that you actually called me up? And they said spot start. He's like, I'd rather stay. just keep me in AAA. Isn't that hilarious? Isn't that amazing? All right, we appreciate it. Real quick, although we are up against it, are the winter meetings back in San Diego next year or not?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I don't know.
We got to figure that out.
I'll find out next week. I'll text you.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate your time.
Mike.
Thanks, man.
All right, guys. Take care. Happy holidays.
All right. Did I ruin the show again because we're up against the clock and we've gone long in the segment, even though you were part of that interview?
No, John. We ruined the show.
I like that.
Yeah.
We really did. Let's get to the wrap on the other side. A rare 5 p.m. edition of the wrap. We have Jim's back page. We're here until 6. Stay with us. Hey guys, it is Jon and Jim for our friends over at Hamul Casino. We've been telling you about them all football season long. And this month is a great time to get out there, especially on Mondays in December. You've got chances to win luxury handbags for your significant other, potentially from top brands like Louis Vuitton, Versace, and more. 10 winners every hour, 7, 8, and 9 p.m. Onyx players receive an extra $100 cash bonus, plus one lucky winner each hour gets the opportunity to pick a purse packed with cash up to $25,000. And you get to keep the purse too.
Yeah, that's big time. You can keep a luxury purse and you can win $25,000 in cash. And after you do that, you can head over to the Win Sports Club, Loft 94, one of their poker rooms. And on Saturday, December 7th at 7 p.m., you can watch UFC 310. Also, New Year's Eve coming up. You can join them at the holographic New Year party
celebrate in style as they'll kick off the festivities with $20 free play for all beginning at noon. An unforgettable night, New Year's Eve at Hamul Casino.
There's so much to do there. New Year's Eve party. You can watch every single sporting event that you want at Hamul Casino, and you can win big time cash. Hamul Casino, it's fun above all else.
All right, Jon and Jim with you until 6 p.m. Jim's back page is ahead. We've got more on Roki Sasaki coming up later this hour. Good conversation with Mike Faran, as you just heard. We normally get to the wrap in the 4 o'clock hour, but let's do it right now.
Time for the wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Who has the best name on the Aztec basketball team?
Eliminate the wrap.
I got this from watching the game last night.
Yeah, they said they had the all-name team.
They had like the all-name team, and it made me think, like, yeah, that's right. They have some really good names on this Aztec basketball team. But I gotta go with our boy Chemo Ferrari. Like, he got in the game last night. Me and you were texting back and forth, like, we need some chemo in our lives. That's a hard name to beat. Can you beat it?
I can absolutely beat it.
Let me guess. Pharaoh Compton.
That's a good one. I think Magoon Gwath and Goon is a pretty good one. I'm just trying to think of the entire roster right now. Like me some Miles Bird.
I like Taj DeGorville. Miles Bird.
What are we doing?
But I like Chemo Ferrari. Chemo Ferrari. That's a name right there. You asked for 4 hours, this is what you get.
They wanted 4 hours, dude. Who cares? Seriously, what are we talking about? What's the best name? Is anyone like, hold on, honey, are you going to make dinner? No, I'm still in the car.
I can't
get out of my car until
John
I
and
hear
Jim
if they
were
say
talking about
BJ
the name.
Davis or Magoon Gwath.
What? I heard on the broadcast. I was like, oh, let's put it in there.
Yeah. Steal someone else's content. Name of the game.
Hey, look. Everybody,
nothing here is original.
Every single show that you have ever listened to has stolen content to use for their own self. Every show.
Next question.
Are you in favor of jersey patches on college football uniforms?
Who asked this question?
Oh, good point.
No one cares.
Well, they put patches on baseball uniforms, right? San Diego has.
Yeah, and everyone
Motorola.
cried about that. And now no one
Nobody
cares
cares.
about it.
I'm in favor of it.
if it means more money towards an NIL initiative, then go for
or
it.
for these universities to help retain student athletes.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, no, I'm a fan. Who would you like to see on San Diego State football or basketball jerseys?
I don't know.
Motorola.
Ferrari logo.
Ooh, look at you.
No, you know who Jim would want? Crumble.
Oh, yeah.
Crumble.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. I need some Crumble jersey patches in my life.
Next question.
Maybe this show should get some jersey patches.
I would wear a jersey patch on the show. Wouldn't matter, but whatever.
We should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's $90.
We could sell real estate on our
on
our shirts.
Let's get a tattoo on our
Yeah.
face for the stream.
Who's the game? Who's this a bigger game for tonight? The Lions or the Packers?
Is that game underway?
Yeah.
Yeah, like 10 minutes ago.
Scoreless 5 minutes in.
Well,
Third and goal for the Lions.
Okay, let me just see it. Really? Already?
Yeah, first and goal for the Lions.
Okay, hold on 1 second here. So, if I'm looking at right now, I would say it's a bigger game for the Lions because if the Packers lose this game, they're still comfortably in the postseason picture. Washington's 8-5, Tampa's 6-6, Arizona 6-6.
So they're going to be in with a loss.
Yeah, they're going to be in with the loss, and I don't think they're even winning the division. They would need a lot of help there. Lions, though, they slip up here. Detroit has a chance potentially at a 1 seed and a bye. I think this is a bigger game for Detroit tonight.
I agree with you because Detroit's trying to win a Super Bowl. All the teams that make the postseason are. But the realistic teams we always talk about, Lions, Eagles, Chiefs, Bills, you want to position yourself. You're not trying to be a 6 seed and win the Super Bowl, even though it's happened before. So, yeah, I think the Lions, to hold control of their destiny in the NFC, need it more than the Packers probably do to make the postseason. So I agree with you. Next question.
Will the Padres spend more money this offseason than the A's?
Well, they're in a hole right now because they are $67 million behind the A's already.
No, $66,100,000 because Tyler Wade got $900K.
That's right. Yeah, you're right about that. $66 million behind.
Yeah. Is there any other move the Padres have made?
Not through free agency, no. I only
or any major league signing?
No major league
No,
signings.
yeah.
A couple minor league signings.
Oh, yeah, the guy that you always talk about, the
SpongeBob.
outfielder who
Yeah, I have no
SpongeBob.
Oscar or something.
Oscar SpongeBob.
Oscar SpongeBob SquarePants.
Will they outspend the A's? My guess would be unlikely.
Now, if the A's go out and make another
They might,
free
that's what I was
agent
going to
deal,
say. They're not done at 67. Even if they put another 10 on the books, they're at 77 to 80.
but if they're done at 67,
They're not done. The A's? Sacramento's team? I mean, there's going to be at least like a $2 million reliever. There's no way they're done.
all right, let's just say
Are we alive back there?
80 $80 million is the total number for the A's.
Yeah,
Over under.
yeah, I think that's for the Padres. I'd probably say under.
Yeah, I'd probably say under too.
Because even if you sign Profar, even if you gave him $30 million, where's the other $50 million?
Right.
Again, if it's a Merrill extension, I do think that
or
is
a Rise
possible.
extension.
Something like that should work itself out.
Yeah.
A Rise or Merrill or
But
Profar.
if they end up trading a Rise, they wait on Jackson Merrill. They don't give extensions to King or Cease.
yeah, then they'll be potentially.
And they
well
only
under.
sign maybe Jerks and Profar to something around like a $35-40 million deal. Still, I mean, what else are you gonna do?
All right, updates from Thursday Night Football. That showdown between the Packers and the Lions from Ford Field Plus. Who do we believe more, Jeff Passan or Buster Olney? That's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by the Jim Petrell Real Estate Team. Thursday night football, Lions and Packers. Lions jump out to a 7-0 lead, 8:13 left in the first quarter in Detroit. San Diego State, after taking down Fresno State last night, thanks to a big night from Magoon Gwath, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 2 blocks in the win. They'll take on USD Saturday night, 7 p.m. tip time at Viejas Arena. You can listen to that right here on San Diego Sports 760. And the news from the college football world today is that North Carolina has interviewed Bill Bellichick to be their next head coach. Would you like to know what your home would sell for today? Get a simple text message with your home's value by texting your address to 855-600-6000. You'll get no phone call, just a text. Jim Petrell is the buyer. Simply text your address to 855-600-6000.
Hit us up in the Talkback Mike. Just open the free iHeartRadio app. Listen to San Diego Sports 760. Tap that little microphone icon next to the play button to leave a 30-second talkback. We could be just hours away from Monsoto making decisions from Jeff Passan yesterday. Winter meetings will be in Dallas next week. We will have you covered, and by covered I mean we'll be here, but we'll be covering the winter meetings.
Not going anywhere.
Here's the thing.
What?
Let's say we wanted to go to the winter meetings in Dallas. Now, we're not going to do it right now.
Okay.
What if we just, me and you, we get the band back together, we bring some equipment down there? Could we do that?
Yeah, who's paying for that?
The sponsor. The sponsor of the show is Aaron and Bentley. What if it was
which would mean Jim?
Jim. No? Okay. Well, we can talk to people from down there.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do next week. And it will be Mike Faran, you just heard him earlier this hour, said he expects it to be pretty active.
We are going to throw up the bat signal to Kevin Acee.
We need to talk to Kevin.
Yeah.
Is Kevin
when's his last tweet?
I need to look, man.
When's his last tweet?
Dude.
Kevin went on a little MIA.
Hold on.
Little hiatus.
Hold on. Kevin Acee.
Right?
That's what I was wondering.
Or is it a blue sky?
No, he's got a Twitter. His last tweet, what month is it?
December.
November 8th. New multi-year contract for Padres pitching coach Ruben Niebla has finalized them. Peace.
Didn't do anything for Schultz?
No.
Kevin, are you okay? Hello? Kevin, you there?
It was every day through November 8th.
What row?
I don't know. I mean, again, the season's so long. I think it's a month. The winter meeting.
Yeah, you just got to rest up because once the winter meeting starts, you're running right back into it a little bit.
We've covered,
and then
meetings.
and then you have Christmas, and then January, and then about middle of January hits. Like you got to get ready for spring training because pitchers and catchers report right at the beginning of February for the Super Bowl.
I am reading something written at this hour by Kirk Kenny in the UT. You have not seen this.
Have to do with
he writes this about how Jordan Napier is in the transfer portal. Good young receiver, no doubt about it. Had a nice year. Came on in the second half. Had some earlier season moments too. Cal game, he had a long touchdown run in that Cal game.
A couple really impressive catches to Wyoming, right? Was that Wyoming?
Two catches on one drive, basically the length of the field.
Yeah,
those two plays. So okay. Again, a good young player that's in the portal, and you're thinking, well, hold on, right? Group of 5, and last year there were a lot of players in the portal with the head coaching change from Brady Hoke to Sean Lewis. Is it a here we go again? But Kirk Kenny writes this. It's kind of in the article about some of the players that are in the portal. He writes Trey White. We all know about Trey White. And then he says sophomore linebacker Tano Latuli, junior corner Chris Johnson were the team's top tacklers, safety Eric Butler, and offensive lineman Ross Ulagulu Masioli also played well enough to draw attention to themselves. There had been concern about losing the players in the portal, just like last year when San Diego State had 11 players move on to Power 4 schools. He writes this, though. Most of the players are believed to be staying, according to sources. Obviously, Napier's departure means the Aztecs won't be holding on to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But and now, again, he's not confirming it. He says, according to sources, believed to be staying. Hopefully we get more. Portal opens Monday.
Give me the players again.
Trey White,
huge,
who was top 2 in the nation in sacks.
How many sacks he finished with? Like around 13 and a half?
12 and a half. and the second most tackles for
I thought
loss.
he finished with more than that.
I thought he had 13.5 at one point. It was only 12.5. Yeah, they like took one away. Like Magoon's blocks last night. It was a joke.
Hold on.
He has 12.5 sacks.
I gotta look at to see myself.
You have to what?
I have to look at it for myself.
Dude, like
confirm.
Mr. Number Guy.
I know you're Mr. Aztec, but I just gotta see it myself. So 12.5, yeah.
12.5 sacks.
60 total tackles, 12.5 sacks.
All right, so here are the names out.
Okay.
Trey White, who is just a sophomore. Okay. Tano Latuli was awesome. Their linebacker, one of the two in the 4-2-5. Owen Chambliss too, but Tano Latuli, Army transfer, San Diegan, was awesome. Chris Johnson's a great corner. He's one of the best corners in the West. Eric Butler had a great year. The safety wore a club a lot of the year. He had a great year. And offensive lineman Ross Ulagulu Masiuli.
How do you pronounce that name so well?
Well, I called the games.
Oh, that's right.
So if that proves to be the case, like Aztec fans, and I know we're kind of just spitballing here because I'm just reading this article. If that proves to be the case, the Trey White, like hear me out as I think through this. Trey White can play anywhere. You don't finish second in sacks, second in TFLs in the nation and say, well, he couldn't play anywhere. No, he could play anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I know he could play anywhere. And he could get paid, right, to play anywhere. Then Tano Latuli is a really good young linebacker. Chris Johnson is a legitimate corner. Like these are some of the cornerstone pieces. We talked about this when things were going bad. It's like if you can retain some of your core, even though the team hasn't played well, at least have some building blocks. Because last year it was like a whole new start over process. We didn't know who Trey White really was or what role he would have heading into this year. If it does end up being the case that Trey White is back, that alone, I mean, just Trey White coming back, if that is the case, is a massive, massive win for Sean Lewis.
What about the quarterback?
Well, that's not in here. I would assume, and again, you got to be careful assuming, but I mean, a true freshman quarterback that just started 12 games who followed Sean Lewis from Colorado to San Diego State, I would feel good. Knock on every, I mean, it's the transfer portal. Anyone can leave at any point, but I would think that that relationship would be pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's big for a team that needs to have some continuity.
Yeah,
to build something, and if you're retaining some of your best players, that's big because these guys were they were these team's best players this year. And so having those pieces as the foundation heading into year two, being in your system for a year, showing, improving that they are good players. Yeah, I think that's big. Yeah.
I mean, it is. If it proves to be the case, and it's not, I mean, that's what Kirk writes today, and you got to be careful, to put the cart before the horse, and you want to hear from the players directly. But this is all happening now because the portal opens up on Monday. So this is all happening in real time right now. You're seeing play. By the way, it's not just Jordan. Like you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Jordan Napier's in the portal. I follow a lot of college football reporters. If you had any idea of how many players have
1 million
expected to enter the portal, it's not 1 million, but it's like 900,000. No, I mean, it's a lot of guys, quarterbacks and running backs and star linebackers and so every position, every program from Alabama to Georgia to New Mexico and everywhere in between. So keep your eye on that. That would be a huge win. That would be an absolutely huge win if Trey White returns, he's going to be thinking about like a 20 sack season is what his goal. I mean, that was his goal when we talked to him actually probably 6 weeks ago.
I'd be cool if he just had like a 12.5 sack season again.
Yes.
Now, I remember we are the jinx to Trey White because when we talked to him, we mentioned it. And then
you're like, dude, are you trying to have like the most sacks ever? And then, great.
Yeah, like one other. Yeah,
Look at this. Look at this. John Fanta, who was on the show yesterday, is calling professional bowling on television after Penn State Purdue. Wow.
Is there anybody?
He does everything.
No, he's the
Is this
best.
Live?
I love John Fanta.
Can I hear the open, Brett? Can you play it?
Some John Fanta in my life.
I need the open. So John Fanta, who's an amazing college basketball play-by-play voice, who's not even like 30 years of age, who is such a character and is so whatever you think, you might have to listen for a moment. Whatever you think sounds good. John Fanta welcoming in PBA for the night, Professional Bowling Association. This is going to be good. Don't you think?
Yeah.
They go right from Penn State Purdue
to professional
right
bowling.
into professional bowling, just like that, right in front of our eyes.
And then John Fanta is just
boom,
bowling.
I saw him today walking the streets of New York with Frank the Tank.
I know. What's happening?
Doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense.
That's why it makes so much sense.
Do we want to do it on the other side, or we can wait a minute here?
Yeah,
I kind of need to hear this.
Not only kind of, I absolutely.
Because a lot
need
of
to hear
people,
this.
if you're a college basketball fan, you know John Fanta because he's. But here he is on
When
bowling.
you think of the PBA Elite League, the Portland Lumberjacks are at the top of the storylines. They're in their 5th Elias Cup final appearance, guided by Kyle Troop, the pro with the fro, the United States Open champion. On the other side, the Elite League regular season MVP, Andrew Anderson, and the Las Vegas High Rollers seeking their first Elias Cup. It is September Madness in Maine. They're ready for the Elias Cup final. It starts now on FS1.
That is amazing.
I'm pumped for some bowling.
Madness in Maine.
I want to watch bowling now.
I think it was in September, though.
I need to watch bowling now.
Do we have a team? Because that was Las Vegas against Portland or something.
Is this a replay?
Yeah, well, it's September Madness, so I think so.
No, it's the longest bowling match ever.
Yeah, it's still going.
So maybe he's not doing it live.
But it's still cool. It's still cool.
We have to remember to ask him about this next time we have him on.
100%.
You know someone's a good broadcaster when they can make you excited about bowling
and the Elias Cup
and the
we need
freaking
a
Elias
team.
Cup and the what do you say the pro with the fro?
The pro with the fro. We need rights to the San Diego bowling team.
I need a
And
San Diego.
Fanta's our play-by-play.
Right, Fanta, bro, get it done.
That was amazing. Jim's back page next. Join San Diego Sports 760 ESAT and Cable Pipe and Leak Detection to support Rady Children's Hospital this holiday season. Hear stories of hope and healing from Rady Children's patients and families during the iHeart Rady Children's Give-A-Thon, supported by ESAT. Your digital guardians. Make a donation today by texting KGB to 51555 or donate at radyfoundation.org/giveathon and listen next Wednesday and Thursday.
Love it. Next week, those 2 days are 2 big days for the radio station.
They are.
It's an annual give-a-thon that we do. Big day. So make sure you're listening both of those days, next Wednesday and Thursday.
Absolutely. So yeah, looking forward to the give-a-thon next week as we approach the holidays. We're just a couple of weeks away now, obviously, from the holidays. All right, we're approaching 6 p.m., which means it's time for this. This is when you talk.
I know, idiot. So McDonald's 11 hours ago, John, at 6:09 a.m., December 5th, 2024, tweeted this. Snack wraps, XX.XX 2025.
What's XX.XX 2025
It's like to be determined. But what they're saying is the snack wraps are returning in 2025 to McDonald's.
Were people like eagerly anticipating that or something?
Snack wraps
You're
were like a
fan?
thing.
Yeah, at one point.
Decade plus ago.
Right.
And I'm sure that they'll be better than what they were last time.
Which, was there something wrong with them?
It's just like in a tortilla with like
Right.
chicken and lettuce and like the McDonald's sauce.
Is fast food like
It's
movies?
the most boring burrito ever.
Is fast food like movies where they just keep they
They've
can't
run out of
reinvent?
ideas.
Yeah, they've run out of ideas.
It's like it's like they just copy everybody else's stuff
Yeah.
and they make it their own.
But we used to do this.
Like radio.
Right. Okay.
So there
I
you
like
go.
that.
I'm
You're a
snack wraps.
snack wrap.
I'm good. I like it.
Okay.
You remember the Jake Paul fight against Mike Tyson?
No, I forgot.
Trying to forget it.
How in the ring it was very hard to concentrate during the interviews because of the women that were behind.
Well, I know the viral ring girl. If
the
that's who you're talking
the
to.
viral ring girl, Sydney Thomas.
She broke up with her boyfriend, right?
But this is before all this stuff. She said that she was 21 years old. She said she broke up with her boyfriend before the summer because she just wanted to find herself. But the thing is, all right,
Mm-hmm.
Sydney Thomas now has a playing card of herself
As a ring girl?
as the ring girl, autographed, on sale now for $75.
She signed with a huge agency.
Yeah.
She has like 1 million followers on Instagram.
She's received her own autographed playing card. Look at
Look at that, he tells me. Wait, how do you get it?
that. You want one? You want
No, I'm asking for a couple. I have a buddy.
You should ask Kristen for Christmas. Hey, can you give me this Sydney
Hey.
Thomas trading card that's signed?
Yes.
It's only
75, but honestly, that's not bad.
$5.
Although, does it have any value?
Well, I mean, you can
Down his pants.
Yeah, you can stare at it for a long time.
That's its value.
Just have it on your your wall and just stare.
Was that the whole? Okay.
Moving over to my favorite bowl game of the college football season, the Pop-Tart Bowl.
The Pop-Tart Bowl.
There was a mystery Pop-Tart
Yeah.
at the game, and they were going to reveal it, but Brett McMurphy broke the news that yesterday.
Which is what? I didn't hear this.
The mystery Pop-Tart will be a frosted cinnamon roll Pop-Tart.
Yeah, but here's
flavor.
what I heard. I heard that frosted cinnamon roll Pop-Tart's in the portal and wants to go to the Fiesta Bowl.
Then who's the Pop-Tart Bowl going to pick up instead?
Right. Well, that's right. A younger Pop-Tart.
Well, the frosted cinnamon roll Pop-Tart will be joining the frosted hot fudge sundae Pop-Tart and the classic frosted wild berry Pop-Tart at the game on December 28th. Of course, the bowl
Are they going
games.
to kill the Pop-Tart again?
Yeah, so the winning team's MVP will decide which mascot gets toasted and eaten by the winning team.
Oh my gosh. They're just like pounding. How does the Pop-Tart walk around? It's like a person in the Pop-Tart costume.
Yeah.
But then how do they toast the person? They don't. They just have a large Pop-Tart.
Well, last year, John, the Pop-Tart went down the
Oh, that's
toaster,
right. That was awesome.
and then out the bottom came like an edible Pop-Tart, and the entire
Can we get
team
in the Pop-Tart Bowl next year, please?
I love the Pop-Tart Bowl. It's my freaking favorite. I love Pop-Tarts. Brent, I know you love Pop-Tarts.
Oh, yeah, I love Pop-Tarts.
They're amazing.
Who's in the Pop-Tart Bowl?
I don't know. Look it up.
No, well, bowls aren't decided until Sunday.
Oh man. If Sean Lewis takes the Aztecs to the
Pop-Tart
Bowl next year, I'm going.
Right.
I'm 100% going to that.
Okay.
Game.
That game.
Just for the Pop-Tart in general. And I expect to have Pop-Tarts from you, by the way, as well, because you'll be there too.
Oh, do you have all the Pop-Tart swag?
I know. Going back to McDonald's, John, they're giving away basically cheeseburgers like for free.
Just have them.
McDonald's is giving away 50-cent double cheeseburgers until December 16th. McDonald's, for a limited time, you can snag a double cheeseburger for just 50 cents through the McDonald's app. The offer is valid once per week until December 16th. I might do that.
Why don't you go there right now?
I might do that.
Get it to Vaughn's, pick up a Pop-Tart, swing by McDonald's, pick up a free cheeseburger. Boom.
Boom. Paid $5 for all that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, right. Not if you bought them at Vaughn's. Bought them at Vaughn's, it's gonna be $8 for the Pop-Tarts.
You'll be lean, mean, eating machine.
Yeah.
Jim is the most amazing person in the world because for whatever reason he eats the oddest things and he always looks the exact same.
Well, that's because he's like my buddy Guido's like Jim. Well, he's got a good metabolism, so he can eat like
I know.
He eats pretty much the equivalent of like 3 Riches.
Rich Ornberger.
Yes, but he is Jim's
Light,
size because it just all burns away.
Okay. Sprite is reintroducing a new flavor. Actually, not a new flavor. They're just reintroducing a flavor. The Vanilla Frost, a unique flavor that was previously only available via the Coca-Cola Freestyle machines. Now fans can bring the frosty, festive flavor home as it hits stores' shelves during the holiday season.
I love the Coke Freestyle machine.
Okay.
A new Vanilla Frost flavor for the holidays.
Yeah.
See, I'm a simple-minded guy when it comes to my sodas.
You could have just ended the sentence.
Yeah.
I don't like to have like my cherry Coke. I don't like to have some flavored Sprite. I just want regular Sprite. I want soda. I want Coke.
You get me in front of the Coke Freestyle machine. I'm making like vanilla cherry Coke.
That's hilarious.
I'm going nuts.
Sorry, I don't have any stories from Canada. My bad.
And all of that is only in Canada. Whatever Jim said.
Everything I said is in
that
Canada.
trading card of the Ring Girl is only available in Canada. All right, if you missed anything today, those Pop-Tarts
Only the French-speaking provinces
in Vancouver, right? Montreal only. All right, if you missed anything today, sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or Spotify. We're back tomorrow with a 4-hour edition of John and Jim.
Damn right.
Beginning at 2 p.m. I think a very good show in store for you. For Brent and Jim, be here at 2 p.m. I'm John. San Diego Sports 7.
And I'm Jim. Bye.
I said Jim. I said for Brent and Jim.